Welcome to the Music Relish podcast with Perry, Lou, and Mark. Tonight, we'll be discussing Turn of a Friendly Card by Alan Parsons Project. We'll have an update on the Rolling Stones mobile and other random relish. Let's get to the show.
Well, okay. What's happening, guys?
Good evening.
Good
How
evening.
you doing?
Happy Sunday, July 17th.
Happy Sunday. Yeah, this is Season 2, Episode 4.
Wow.
Right, yeah.
We're having more episodes than all in the family.
Yep.
Now, counting the first version, Music Relish Podcast version 1, how many episodes?
First 30 episodes. 30.
Was it 30 or 31, and then we went
was
to...
30.
Okay, so this is actually 34 total episodes.
Mm-hmm.
We're not a new show. We got picked up for a second season. But we had to go to the 3-camera technique, or else they weren't going to pick us up.
we got re-upped. Desi Arnaz came up with the 3-camera technique, by the way, if you did not know that.
I'm going to break the fourth wall right now.
Yeah, man. So,
all right. So,
Mark, I understand you went to see a show last night. Was it a Dead set?
I went Friday night. I saw Dead & Company, who I've said many times I really like because they have John Mayer. So I'm at Citi Field in Queens, or as you say, Shea Stadium. And great show. Seeing a jazz band, I call them a jazz band, play in a baseball stadium with 60,000 people there. It's a great time. 4 hours and 20 minutes, Perry. Wow. And they only did about 15 songs in that time.
You're kidding. That's the Dead, man. Isn't that the thing? Like a Dead set was 4 hours? And
well, that includes
for
intermission.
how much money, if you don't mind me asking, for 4 hours?
$50.
Wow.
Yeah, not bad.
reasonable, yeah.
And hand it to them that they have not put out an album of original material since there's been no Dead album since the last Dead album. And they can still pack baseball stadiums when they tour, and they don't sell out, but they pack them, and then they sell out arenas. So hand it to them; they're doing good. But out of 4 hours and 20 minutes, you get 3 hours and 15 minutes of John Mayer just soloing, which I love. And he's even gotten better every year that I see Dead & Company. John Mayer gets a new style of guitar playing, and this year was wow. He's a virtuoso. He always has been. Great. I had a great time. Great show.
Who else is in the band? Is it mostly the remaining Dead members and then
it's Bob Weir. It's Bob Weir, Mickey Hart, and Bill Cruzman. And Lou, you would appreciate this. Bill Cruzman, he's been out for a bunch of shows. He's got a really bad back. So last night he came back and played. Every time they showed him on the big screens, the place went nuts. So you got to love that a whole stadium was going nuts for a drummer.
Nice.
Great to see him back. And they got this bass player, Otel, and I don't know his last name. Shoot me now. He used to play with the Allman Brothers, so if you've seen any videos of the Allmans, he's a virtuoso of a bass player. And the keyboard player, I don't know his name. See, I'm not a real Deadhead, so I don't know all these names, but he's fantastic. He's just great. They gel. They're really good. And Bob Weir, with his mustache and white hair, is the coolest of the cool. He's doing great. He's pushing 80.
Did they have two drummers? Or is it just Cruzman?
There's Bill Cruzman and Mickey Hart. Yeah.
Oh, they're both drummers.
The original drummers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, Bill Cruzman's more of the, he's like what Butch Trucks was to the Allmans. He's kind of the beat guy. Mickey Hart's more of the percussive, correct me if I'm wrong, more of the round the percussive kid. Bill Cruzman kind of the backbeat type of guy like Butch Trucks was.
Exactly.
Okay.
Bill Cruzman's a very actually jazzy drummer in some ways. And then, when they go to their big, long drum solo, which, Perry, you could do a whole shopping trip in the time of their drum solo, it's really Mickey Hart, and Bill Cruzman follows him, but he's not doing the drum solo. Otel, the bass player, actually comes up and plays drums with them. So if Bill Cruzman was doing it, he'd have 3 drummers. Really good stuff. I had a great time. It was one of the best shows just for sitting back and appreciating the music, not worried about the time. I wasn't looking at my watch. Show ended about 12 o'clock. It was great. Great show. But I won't advise it to anybody because most people would be bored.
Did you go with the family, or did you go by yourself?
Went with my son-in-law to Kenna. He loves the Dead. Yeah, and he's taught me some stuff. He's 29 years old, and he's teaching me about the Dead, stuff I didn't know. So he knows his stuff.
And he's English?
Wow.
Yeah, he grew up in England. Yeah.
Ah.
And I love talking music with him because when you talk music with someone that grew up in England, it's a whole different view of music than we have. I love talking to him about English bands, and he saw them in a different way than we did. And he's also younger than us, but he likes all the bands we like. Big Deep Purple guy.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And for a young guy, cool. That's great.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot about the Purple.
Oh yeah, don't get me started.
Oh, yeah. So have you Al Stewart, right? He has a new box set out. A new box set of Al Stewart. 50 CDs. You heard me correctly. 50. 50 CDs in the new box set of Al Stewart.
Wow.
20. It has all 20 of his studio albums. And I guess they throw in some live stuff and some other maybe unreleased stuff or whatever. But 50 CDs.
Wow. Well, he ties into the Alan Parsons theme because Alan Parsons produced Year of the Cat, his breakthrough album.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. And so, Mark, no, sorry, Lou, go ahead.
And he's, I saw actually funny because you mentioned, because we got the little coincidental thing happening again. I saw a video, I watched the video of Al Stewart today from the Royal Albert Hall where he did the whole Year of the Cat album. And he discusses how it began. Was the piano player, I don't know his name, would just do this during sound checks. And he's like, so Al Stewart goes, I'm going to use that. I need to use that. So the guy goes, well, write some lyrics to it. So Al Stewart actually, I don't know how long it took him to write it, but he wrote the lyrics to Year of the Cat, inspired by that piano. Really beautiful piano intro.
Wow.
I'm
sure.
But I watched, the video of the piano player. It's amazing how, in 2015, it's a small keyboard with this amazing piano sound. And then he got the strings on the same keyboard. But it was great. There's like 3 guitar players, but Al Stewart, I mean, he sounded great. But what a great lyric writer. Really.
And that song's a good example of how Alan Parsons was a director engineer because the saxophone was on there because of Alan Parsons. So it would have been a wholly different song if Alan Parsons hadn't engineered or produced it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, Mark, you asked us to listen to the Alan Parsons Project, their Turn of a Friendly Card. Is that the name of the record?
Yep, that's a new thing. I thought each week, each one of us could recommend an album to the other two and listen to it and give your honest opinion.
So, well, you should start then. What is it about the record that you thought that
it's funny.
Would be a great record for novices to listen to?
Well, for me, it was the first album I bought. I bought it at Music Merchant, $5.99, had the yellow sticker, and I brought it home, and I hated it when I first heard it because everyone told me they were a progressive band, and you listen to it, and the drums don't sound like Carl Palmer. It's got kind of pop music on it, so I shelved it for years, and then I pulled it back out and listened to it, and let's get the progressive tag out of the window because that kind of ruins it. It's got strings and keyboards, which to me was really cool because usually an album will have all keyboards or strings. That's what I like about Alan Parsons is he melds everything. He brings the whole kitchen sink to do an album. Mm-hmm. So on that album, it was a tough one to say like either that or Eye in the Sky. Eye in the Sky is a masterpiece as well, but I think Turn of a Friendly Card to me is my favorite Alan Parsons album. Time is on it. Sounds like a Pink Floyd song to me.
It really does.
Well, hold on. So let's.
Can we go track by track, maybe, or just kind of?
Yeah. Do you want to go, Lou?
Well, I made some. I made some notes on because I did listen to it like maybe 3 times, Mark, and it's really good. It's a really good album. The recording is just flawless. It is so warm. It's very lush. Like you said, there's a lot of piano and strings. I'm not, now. Mm-hmm. Alan Parsons, I find it too. He could sing, but he didn't really hardly sing at all on the Alan Parsons Project. But there's one song, I think it's Time, where he sings backups, but his voice was hardly ever used, apparently. But Time was sung by Eric Wolfson, the other part of the Alan Parsons Project. It's a beautiful vocal. But it's very Pink Floyd-like in that way. But, I mean, Alan Parsons has claimed to be able to do that, being how he was the engineer on Dark Side of the Moon, and he declined to engineer Wish You Were Here in favor of starting the Alan Parsons Project, correct?
Right.
I think he offered, but the first one is...
Can I add...
Yeah,
sorry,
sure.
Can I add something to that song, Time? I felt the Pink Floyd-esque sort of thing, too.
Mid-tempo.
I also hear the Beach Boys in there.
Yeah.
I also hear the Beach Boys. Yep.
Yeah. In my reading,
I enjoyed it.
There's a Beach Boys mention about one of the singers, because there's 3 singers on it, right? The one who's guy goes by the name of Elmer Gantry. Wasn't that Burt Reynolds? Oh, no, Burt Reynolds. Was that Burt Lancaster?
Yes.
Well,
So I don't know his real name, but he sang the song "Maybe a Price to Pay." That's the first track. To me, it's
actually,
I call
Elmer
it
Gantry is Dave Terry. Do you know who Dave Terry is? Yeah.
And that sounds familiar, but give me a little clue on.
No, keep moving on because I'm not sure. I don't have enough facts in front of me.
But when I listen to it, I mean, I call it straight prog because it's proggy, but like you said, the drums are very straight ahead. But it's symphonic. It's definitely symphonic rock. It's prog-ish, but I mean, some of the stuff actually has kind of funky, I'd call it almost late 70s dance beats. You know, there's a pulse. There's that bass pulse. But having known them only for the hits, I've never listened to an Alan Parsons record, but it's really good. I mean, I'm very impressed. I enjoyed it very, very much. So who the 3 singers on there are Elmer Gantry, so there's Burt Lancaster, Larry Zazatek, and Chris Rainbow, right?
Chris Rainbow, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And Chris Rainbow appeared on quite a few Alan Parsons albums.
Beautiful voice. He had a beautiful voice.
Yeah. Interestingly, Eric Wolfson was the record company was pushing Alan to use Eric on their earlier albums, but he's not on their earlier albums. Alan Parsons wanted more traditionally, kind of like perfect singers, kind of like like what we have now with these singing shows. He just wanted technically proficient singers. And Eric Wolfson wasn't that. He more like a David Gilmour. Really reminds me of David Gilmour.
Huh.
Yeah.
I think the big song people know in that was the second song, Games People Play.
Yep.
And that's Larry Zazatek.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was a radio hit. It was number 16 on the Billboard Hot 100.
I remember WPLJ played it so much when it came out.
Is that the one that go, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Is that the one?
All of the children have grown up.
Yeah, when my son was young, he thought he was singing Michael Bublé in the middle of the night. And I was like, no, that's not it. That's not it.
Michael Bublé. It was used in Grand Theft Auto, one of the Grand Theft Auto videos.
That's how my son knew it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I read where when Chris Rainbow died, he died young. I think he had, I don't know what happened. He was like in his 40s, I thought. But Brian Wilson, apparently mentioned there's a Beach Boys influence. Brian Wilson wrote a really nice tribute to the singer Chris Rainbow when he passed away.
Really?
So I don't know if Chris Rainbow did any Brian Wilson tributes. I'm sure he did. I didn't see that. But the fact that we mentioned they sound kind of Beach Boys like, and the Beach Boy himself actually wrote a very touching tribute.
Yeah.
And he always ends it with Brian Wilson ends a lot of his things with "Love and Mercy," Brian Wilson. From that was his comeback album.
Yeah.
And one of his comeback singles.
Yep.
But Time was another big hit.
There was a
couple of, and that's the song I remember. But Pink Floyd, the Beach Boys. But I Don't Want to Go Home was another one. I mean, there's some standout tracks. I like The Turn of a Friendly Card, that track itself, which I was sung by Chris Rainbow, the guy we're talking about. It's beautiful. It's very stately, amazing. Like, I don't know what I think they recorded at Abbey Road.
No, it was actually recorded at Acoustic Studio in Paris, France.
Oh,
so
in Paris.
I did read that it was recorded in France. Yeah.
Okay. You know who the drummer is?
Who? I should.
Stuart Elliott, who was the drummer with Al Stewart, Year of the Cat.
Ah.
So because Alan, so that's the connection. The drums are, he's a great drummer. Stuart Elliott, he's also the drummer on Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill, amongst other things.
Wow.
So yeah, he's got a pretty good, interesting career too, songwriter too. But he's the drummer on that album.
The drums on Games People Play. You just think about it. It's so steady. Like he's playing strong, and he never misses that beat. If you're going to play for Alan Parsons, you got to be damn good. Yeah.
Well, when Year of the Cat first came out, I love that song to begin with. Just something about the groove on that song really, really got me. Simple playing. Yeah. It's not overly complicated, but that feel. That's what drummers do.
It's stately. It's very English. It's stately. Just like some of the songs on this album, but oddly enough, Alan Parsons never got popular in England. He was popular in so many other countries. Could never crack the English music market.
Wow.
Yeah. But for me...
Actually,
I
the time
thought
was
that the
number
first
30
song.
in Canada.
Really?
Yeah. Canada knows.
The first song to me, like when I rediscovered the album and played it and loved it, that first song, Maybe a Price to Pay, that's a pretty heavy song. It's very Renaissance oriented. It's good.
Right. Well, we didn't mention it's a theme album about gambling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was Alan Parsons, was he a degenerate gambler at one point?
Nah, he always split his albums up into themes. Like Eve was about women, and oddly enough, the first song on that album is called Lucifer. I don't know if that's a Freudian slip. I don't know. He always had some kind of a theme going for all his albums. So that's another thing I appreciate about him is listening back. You hear how they're all connected.
Yeah.
So Perry, what'd you think of it?
Well, actually, I listened to side one day and I listened to side 2 the other day. Well, the first song I heard was Maybe a Price to Pay.
Yeah.
I thought the drums were weak. The drums just, the way it was recorded, the drums were just kind of weak to me. And of course, the second song was the big hit single, right?
Yeah.
Big hit single. And I really liked the instrumental. It was called Gold Bug. Am I reading my handwriting correctly?
Yep.
Gold Bug. It's an instrumental.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
I found that very interesting.
When you thought the drumming was weak, do you mean it's not very prominent or just not?
I meant the way it
supporting?
was recorded, I guess, just
Really?
for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that had strings on it, so he probably had it more tame. Whereas on games people play, you got a pop single, so you want those drums way up there.
I don't mean they were played poorly. I mean it's just the way, the format that I heard it in. Maybe it was the format I heard it in that wasn't that. But of that song Time, again, I hear Pink Floyd and Beach Boys in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
And there's another one. I Don't Want to Go Home.
Yeah.
Is that the one? I Don't Want to Go Home. That one I was like, okay, whatever. But Turn of the Card.
I agree with that track. That was one track that it didn't grab me as much as some of the others.
Yeah.
It's not bad, but it just. I hear
right,
you.
Yeah. It was just okay, whatever.
That was sung by Larry Zazatek, the guy that's saying Games People Play, who's now an Anglican priest.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He's Indian. He was born in India, I think, or Pakistan or something.
Wow.
But he became an Anglican priest now. Yeah.
Now
all these guys are in their 70s now.
Turn of the Card. That was another one where it's like I hear the Beach Boys in there. It's Beach Boy-esque.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the same singer who we were talking about before, who's saying
yes,
he brings those falsettos in, and it's great, right?
Yeah, that's Chris Rainbow, the guy that Brian Wilson gave the tribute to when he passed away.
Yep. Well, Turn of the Card, I noticed that right away. There's another one where I thought had weak drums on it, and it's called Snake Eyes, and it reminded me of Steely Dan a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? There's a little.
I wrote the same thing, Perry. Yeah, I did.
Really? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
we're on the same wavelength.
The drums are not meant. I mean,
I thought they were weak.
Well,
I thought they were weak on that track.
But
I mean the way they were recorded.
Okay, like just low in the mix, or just not.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not saying about how they're played. Obviously,
right. Okay.
It's when Alan Parsons engineers an album.
Tinny. To me,
I think Mark's air conditioner.
He's the director. Oh, you guys froze up for a second there. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
We froze up. Okay.
Yeah, we didn't silence Mark's air conditioner, did we?
Where do we go from here?
Perry?
Michael Bublé.
Everyone is frozen.
Can you silence Mark's air conditioner?
Yeah, at the end. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I'm sorry, guys.
There's another song called "The Ace of Swords."
Yeah.
Or is it Swords or Swords?
Swords, not swords.
No, didn't we write a song called Ace of Swords, Perry? we have a song called Nine of Swords.
Yeah, and this is an instrumental, and I thought, like, when I heard the Ace of Swords, I'm like, this is movie music. It sounds really good, like it could be playing in a movie.
Yeah.
You know, in the movies. And what? Go ahead.
It's cinematic. There's a cinematic quality to the music.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very dreamy. Very dreamy, I thought.
Yeah.
I wish I knew what kind of keyboards. I'd like to know the equipment. were there synthesizers? Was anything more advanced? I know there was some kind of, I didn't forgot the name of the instrument that Alan Parsons played, I think on the title track. It's like a phalarmicon or something, or it's almost like a harmonium, or it's like a phalarmium or something, but I'm wondering what it is.
Well, and the last song that I heard is called Nothing Left to Lose. And it's got a nice melody, a really nice melody on that song, and great background vocals. I love the way they put the background vocals on that song.
Yeah.
And I don't know, if somebody's playing the keyboard, it almost sounds like bagpipes on the keyboards.
All the keyboards on that album are from Alan, because Eric Wolfson played piano and harpsichord on the album. So any keyboards. And by the way, Lou, that was a Projectron. That's what he was playing.
Wow.
I'm wondering what is that exactly? What's a Projectron?
Well, it's also the name of Gene Simmons' codpiece, too. It's the Projectron. So, yeah.
I thought that was called the Intimidator.
Yeah. It was probably some just keyboard that came out that they were pushing, cost absurd amounts of money, and Alan said, I want to try it. We haven't heard about it since, but I got to say what Perry was saying, how it's like a film score, because Alan said he wanted to be like a film director when he did these albums. He was making mini movies. So it's true. Every album from them reminds me of that, but this album coalesced that vision the best to me.
So my overall description of the record would be easy flowing. That's the only two words I can come up with. Easy flowing.
Yeah.
I call it record. Dreamy symphonic rock. Dreamy symphonic straight prog. Because I call it straight because it's proggy, but not completely. It was definitely more a pop. Even some of the songs, there's some funky bass playing on some of it. Actually, Maybe a Price to Pay has a kind of a funky break on it. Yeah. But even like on Games People Play, the guitar solo on Games People Play is really good. Sounds like a Stratocaster to me, Mark.
Yeah, same here. I agree.
But definitely really, really cool. Yeah.
And this was their peak, by the way, because the album that came out after this was Eye in the Sky. So these couple of years for them, they were at the top. Mm-hmm. They were just, and then they just went. They fell off the face of the earth.
But all in all, I found it enjoyable.
Good.
Me too. It was, I mean, like I said, I think the drums are weak. I think they're just. As I said, I know they're all professional musicians. I'm just saying the way they were recorded, and the good thing is that every song is different. It's not like Lou. You've heard these stories about people in the '80s used to record, set the drums up, and that was it.
Yeah,
drum sounded the same on every single song on the record. Well, that did not happen here because obviously that song, "Where Do We Go?" I mean, there's a reason it was a hit single because everything is perfect. Yeah. Everything sounds perfect on it.
Right.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to listen to iRobot.
Definitely. Is
that that's not the first record? That's the second record?
No, that's the second one. So the first one was Tales of Mystery and Imagination, the Edgar Allan Poe album. iRobot came second. That I was almost like really debating. That was another one I was going to recommend to you guys. Mm-hmm. That's got some really good soulful stuff. I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You is on that album.
Yeah,
remember that song?
Right. Mm-hmm. Is that Lenny Zazatek on vocals?
Let me tell you. So I'm a salty IT guy here.
And I like the theme of that record. It's about computers, artificial intelligence, which is definitely we're talking about that now.
Well, it was 1970s. Kind of visionary. Yeah, it was 1977 when Star Wars came out, so that kind of helped it, But they put out, and I advise you to check out. After that, they put out Pyramid and Eve, two albums that you don't know much, like they don't talk about a lot. They're very good too, especially Pyramid. That's an excellent album.
What's the theme of Pyramid? Ancient Egypt?
Yeah, no, it's got nothing to do with it. I thought it was when I got it. It's if you look at the cover, you'll get it. I'm not going to say. You got to try and guess it. By the way, yes, Lenny sang vocals on I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, so we both reviewed the record.
Check this out. Do you know who did the album cover? The album cover.
Yes, art? I do.
Godly and Cream from 10cc.
The two guys from 10cc. Yep.
They were groundbreaking with video too. They did some. It was Godly and Cream, but they did some interesting visionary videos early on.
Yeah.
Much different, much more advanced than say Loverboy's Hot Girls in Love.
Well, I got to tell you, I've been discovering 10cc over the last few months. I didn't know anything about them, so I've been kind of getting into them. But that's for another time.
That album, the 10cc album, has got The Things We Do for Love. Is that just called 10cc?
No.
I don't know the name of it. Whatever the name was, Playboy magazine had that as their 1976 like love making album, and that was the album to do Bob Seger's horizontal bop to.
Oh boy!
You know what I'm talking about?
Well, do you know where they got their name from? I'm not going to say it on the show.
What, do I have like a transfusion or something? 10 cc's of adrenaline or what?
No, it's about the average amount of something that a male emits.
Oh well, well, what do you want? They're metric, I mean, we don't do metric here in the USA.
Yes, we do. Every time you buy a bottle of liquor, it's either 750 milliliters or a liter.
Yeah, I still call it a quart.
Yeah. A fifth. Of Firth. A Firth of fifth.
Do you guys want me to do the update on the Rolling Stones mobile?
Yeah, I'm really interested
studio?
in this.
Well, guess where it is?
It's in New Mexico in a hangar.
It's in Canada, in Alberta.
Because it's got so many drugs on it, they had to take it to Canada.
It is still there. It's still functional. You can still rent it. It's in a museum, and the museum has a studio there called Studio Bell. And it is there. The Rolling Stones mobile it's been refurbished and upgraded, and it's still there.
Huh. Is it in the Royal Canadian Mountie Museum or something?
It's in a museum in Alberta, Canada.
Of all places, interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
now,
and I found out also the reason that the Stones were annoyed. They'd always go to, like, say, Olympic Studios, and they'd start writing songs in the studio, like, we don't do that, obviously, but they would do that. And they realized that we're getting charged for, like, writing songs in the studio. And, they also had, like, a, I guess back then they had the, the jackets, the lab coats, 9 to 5, 9 to 5. And, like, they might not want to start recording till 8 o'clock at night or whatever. So that's where that's where Ian Stewart decided to, gave him put the bug in their ear about the studio. So that was it. They didn't like getting charged for writing in the studio.
Kind of like Van Halen when they started their own studio, same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing about it, some artists that have their own studio is that you can get lazy. You got all the time in the world. Yeah. So sometimes the pressure, if you can do it, will bring something. I have home. We all got home equipment. I don't have to do that today.
Tom Petty said that was one of the worst things that they did was getting a studio in his house.
Really?
He said, because when you're in an actual studio you're paying for, let's get on with this, Yeah. When it's in your house, it could take a year, and apparently then he punched the wall and busted up his hand or something because he was mad at, Stan Lynch or something.
They lost half his tour because he broke his hand.
So Stan Lynch burned his damn house down, didn't he?
Yeah. He did?
Oh,
I didn't know about that.
Speaking of that.
No, that's a joke between me and Perry. We said
okay.
Tom Petty fired him, so Stan Lynch burned his house down. He's a hothead.
It was the people from MCA, maybe.
Those damn drummers, they're all hotheads.
Sure. Well, I am. I'm definitely.
It was Lou. It
was me. You fired one of my favorite drummers.
No, it was Lou, L-E-W. It was Lou.
I wonder, did you see what it looks like with the actual structure of this mobile studio? I'm just picturing like a big trailer, it's like a big truck.
It is. It's very narrow. It's very narrow. And on the right side is the 24-track console and a 2-inch tape machine and all that, and all the the other equipment, the outboard compressors. There's very little room in there. There's really room for when Deep Purple did, there was room for Martin Birch and an engineer.
Does it have is it self-propelled? Does it have like a truck cab in the front? Is it?
Yeah, but it's parked. But it's been driven. They used to drive it there.
I mean, drive, but not towing it with a trailer or a tractor. Actually has someone at the steering wheel.
Right, it got driven to Headley Grange. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I found out also that the second album, Sticky Fingers, the Stones used the mobile for that. They recorded that at Mick's estate. I forgot the name of Mick Jagger's estate, but that's where Sticky Fingers was recorded using the mobile.
It's called Shropshire on Thames.
It was something to that, something like that. Yep.
Still bullocks on tens.
But since I mentioned Tom Petty, I just want to, can I go into Boys of Summer? It was written by Don Henley and Mike Campbell.
Mike Campbell did write it. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was
and
Cooch.
Danny Korchmar played guitar and synthesizer. Steve Porcaro, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Steve Porcaro.
I sure
Just
have.
Toto, just brother.
He played synthesizer. Larry Klein played bass.
Oh.
And it was produced by, pretty much by Mike Campbell and Danny Korchmar.
Okay.
Was
Larry
a producer
Klein,
also.
Larry Klein, I think, is married to Joni Mitchell, or was, but he did a lot of playing on her music, Larry Klein.
Yeah, I seem to remember reading that somewhere. Yep.
And I advise you guys, if you can YouTube it, listen to his slow acoustic version of that song on Howard Stern.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it just brings the lyrics to life. It's a sad, sad song.
I like that. When that record came out, is that Building the Perfect Beast?
Yeah.
Okay. Sunset Grill. I mean,
Yeah,
even the synthetic horns sound kind of good on that.
I like that. Sunset Grill, I like that song.
Yeah. And that's
it's just a nice song. Yeah.
I mean, and he's obviously he's one of the most distinctive vocalists ever in rock. And
Yes.
I don't think he's such the bad guy. I mean, here's funny. A guy I worked with. He worked at a restaurant, a very fancy hotel in South Carolina, in a hotel.
Yeah.
So they had a guest. The guest is like, the air conditioner needs to be adjusted. They call it adjust the air conditioner. All right. They must have adjusted it several times. The guy apparently has to have a certain perfect pitch temperature on his air conditioning. Turns out that it was Don Henley. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, so my friend goes, he must be a real a-hole. I said, well, think about it. I said, maybe. He's an artist. He's a rock star.
Yeah.
It's a rarefied world they live in. But I was thinking, because of his voice, he probably has his voice insured.
Right.
The record company this is David Geffen, when the Eagles came, he goes, the first record, he's like, this guy's got to sing more. So by the second record, third record, Henley was singing more and more. That's a record company.
Yeah, yep.
So maybe he might have his voice insured. It's got to be something, because he can't lose it. Air conditioning, I can tell you, air conditioning can wreck your voice. In the car, it can destroy it. So maybe he was being a bit temperamental, but maybe he had to.
Yeah, we all know when
temperamental, like Roger, like the singer from the Who, about this marijuana smoke,
Yeah.
Yeah, when you get,
I can tell you,
you start to get a sore throat. If you start to get a sore throat and you have the air conditioner going, it always makes it worse, right? Like I got one now, and I'm praying I didn't get it at the Dead show. But
Lou, by the way, I'm drinking herbal tea.
Oh, you really?
Herbal.
Yeah, it's very good herbal tea. It's made with hops and barley.
Hey, Perry, why don't you put some Cool Whip in it? All right.
Me, I'm drinking my own urine because I hear it's good for you.
And it's sterile and you like the taste. Oh, did you know that there is a documentary, Lou and Mark, about Burt Burns? It's called Bang, the Burt Burns story.
Who the hell is Burt Burns?
Burt Burns, the guy, Burt Burns from Bang Records. He was working with Ahmet Artigan and the brother and Neil Diamond and all those guys.
The brother of who? What brother? Big brother?
Ahmet Artigan and his brother, Nishui. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They were, I think we spoke about that with the Brill Building and stuff, like Bang Records. It was actually an acronym.
So are they? They're not like a Roulette Records, Morris Levy type thing. There was this more honorable.
Yeah, no, it was a small independent label distributed obviously by someone else. But I think I asked you earlier before we went on the air. Excuse me. Have you ever heard Irma Franklin singing "Piece of My Heart"? Aretha Franklin's sister.
Oh wow!
In 1967, did what I know to be the original version of "Didn't I Make." Come on, take another little piece of my heart now, baby. Right?
Okay.
And it's a great recording. And the background singers on it are Cissy Houston.
Okay.
And Dee Warwick, Dionne Warwick's sister.
Okay.
And mother of Whitney Houston.
Yeah, are the background singers on this. If you get a chance to listen to it, "Piece of My Heart" by Irma Franklin, Aretha Franklin's sister.
Okay. Yeah,
it was on Shout Records, which was a subsidiary of Bang Records.
Okay.
Yeah.
We discussed that we're not the biggest Janis fans. No, I don't. it never really grabbed me much. I'd like to hear another version. Has anyone ever done, or has, say, Milk Crates and Turntables done, like, siblings of, like, lesser-known siblings of musicians? Like you mentioned Irma Franklin.
I don't know about lesser known, but I know that the Milk Crates, Scott and Jack did do a whole show on siblings in bands. And, it wasn't just like the British guys. It was, the Wilson sisters from Heart and
the Wilson brothers from the Beach Boys. But like a lot of people don't know, like on Dire Straits, his brother David Knopfler was the rhythm guitar player from the first 3 records.
See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So a lot of that rhythm guitar you hear was Mark Knopfler's brother.
Really?
Yeah, but you mentioned Irma Franklin. I never heard of Irma Franklin before. If I did, I didn't make the connection.
Yeah, 1967.
Or Armin Erdogan. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, the kids said it would call Armin Erdogan, Irma Gerdigan. But he's another one of those giants, a very respected guy. Didn't Atlantic Records do the tribute to him?
Well,
I think Zeppelin played it, and whoever the Mamas and Pop, whoever else was on.
That was the 40th anniversary. It's sad how he died. Is he fell at that Rolling Stone show that was filmed at the Beacon Theater? He fell and hit his head. That's sad.
Yeah.
He could have lived like 10 years longer.
Who fell and hit his head?
Ahmet Ertegun. You remember that Stone show they did at the Beacon, and they recorded it? They filmed it. Martin Scorsese. Yeah, so they did that all show, and then afterwards he was at the backstage where he fell and he clonked his head, and it just put him under.
Really?
It's sad. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Atlantic was distributing Rolling Stones records, right?
Yeah. Oh, Lou, you're right. You know what they did? I'm thinking of Zeppelin at the 40th anniversary. That was the O2 Arena. Yeah, with the Ahmet Ertegun tribute, and that's
They did.
Sorry. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Well, he's one of those guys. I mean, if you look at their background, I would call them the good guys of the music business. They're going to be ruthless in their own way because there's so much money at stake. But these were people that believed in artists. He let
bands develop, and I think the biggest success story to me is their first 3 albums bombed, and he gave them the time to develop, and he kind of said to them, guys, all right, get it together. But then they got and he gave a bunch of bands time to develop, and we don't see that anymore in the music business.
And I guess
it's instant gratification now. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And also, your first album's got to be it. You got to have all these, how many singles, and then you got to wait 5 years to go through the laborious process of neurotically doing your next album over 5 years. And it's stupid. I mean, come on,
Like when the Beatles were making those promo films for Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane.
Yeah.
I don't think it was coming out of their salary, you know what I mean? Like,
Apple or Capital.
Right. Somebody footed the bill, EMI or,
you never know. They were the Beatles. They didn't have to pay anything.
And they could easily pay for that themselves anyway.
Yeah.
It only benefited them.
Yeah. I wonder who directed those videos. Because they're really good. I mean, the Strawberry Fields one is, it's definitely, it's heady.
I don't know. I don't know if it was. Do you think it was directed, or if they just brought cameras out there and said, "All right, we're going to climb the tree here, and make us go backwards"?
Probably not. I think there's, they do things. They were too well known and too professional, probably just to say, "Hey,
yeah."
So
what do you want to roll on about, Lou?
Hey,
all right.
Can I just throw one thing in, Lou, before you start?
What?
To circle back on Don Henley. One more thing. This will be my last thing of the night. No, Henley kind of got screwed over. This week I read that 3 individuals have been convicted of stealing his lyric sheets. Craig Inciardi, Glenn Horowitz, and Edward Kosinski. Craig was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Director of Curating and Acquisitions, by the way. All right? He was... What they did was, in 2005, they got lyric sheets of original lyrics for Hotel California, among other songs, that were stolen by a biographer that was hired to write a biography of the band in the 70s. He stole the stuff. Craig got them. And what they wanted to do with it is they were going to sell them. They were going to actually offer them to auction houses in an effort to get Don Henley to pony up and say, "Oh no, I want him," and give him money. Real dirty deals,
Wow.
So they got convicted of it, which I think is good justice. Because Don Henley, why does he have to fork over that money? I don't know what will happen to the Sheets, but they might go to jail. It's going to be a 4-year sentence if they're convicted.
Well, so, I think they got fired, probably, right?
Well, the one with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I'm sure, but it's like another nail in the coffin of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, what's going on with these guys, you know? So I'm just glad for Don that worked out. Like, he wasn't going to be blackmailed or whatever, you know. So
you don't mess with Don Henley.
Yeah, you don't mess with the Don.
Nah.
Go ahead, Lou. I'm sorry.
No problem. That was an interesting little tidbit. So we were, before our little pre-show powwow, we mentioned we've never talked about rock critics, people who've written about rock, and otherwise, you know, if without them, we would just listen. We'd have our own opinions. We'd listen to albums ourselves without the influence of their opinion or whatever. But, you know, it's, as you know, sometimes, you know, it can be a ridiculous review or it can be very insightful. But the guy,
now, are you talking back in the pre-cell phone days, or are you talking?
Well, yeah, going back to the the mid '60s, you know, the advent of Crawdaddy magazine, Rolling Stone, of course. But the guy I like to talk about has been credited, and I didn't know this because I'm very much aware of him and what he's done in music, much less so as far as rock journalism or rock criticism. But he's credited with inventing modern rock criticism, and the man's name is Richard Meltzer, who we talked about in conjunction with Blue Oyster Cult last week. Where
I've seen that name.
Yeah, he's written lyrics for a lot of Bang. Thank you.
Yep.
He's written articles for like most of his magazines, but you know, in high school he was a classmate of Sandy Pearlman, who was the producer and one of the, you know, these guys were the Sandy Pearlman and Mary Krugman. They actually defined the Blue Oyster Cult concept. They came up with the name of the band. They came up with the concept. You know, they wanted, like you said, their early records sound mysterious and ethereal. That was the intention, was to create an aura of mystery about this band. Richard Meltzer came up with the umlaut. So that's
came up with what?
The umlaut over oyster or whatever it's, or is
that
over
what
cult?
That is? Yeah,
it's over cult.
Is?
Yeah, it's an umlaut. I don't know what it means. But so he would do these high school pranks, like they were like creative. It wasn't like, you know, blowing up a toilet. He'd do these like creative pranks in conjunction with Sandy Pearlman. He was an interesting guy. Was ended up writing for Crawdaddy, Rolling Stone, The Village Voice, and he wrote for Cream magazine. In the punk era, he actually had formed a band called Vom, V-O-M, Vomit. They were known. They did a 7-inch EP. One of the songs was apparently they made a video for it. It was called "Electrocute Your Cock." It's one of the songs. So, and they did a video of it where he's like in the shower. I haven't seen it. I might look it up. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I won't. But in 2002, he put out a punk CD called "Tropic of Nipples." I don't know if that's a play on Henry Miller's Tropic of Cancer, but it's pretty fucking funny. And so on that CD, he worked with members of the band. This is bad. Smegma.
Henry Miller's wrong. He didn't write this song.
I know I'd heard of the band called Smegma, but I haven't delved into that. But so it was members of Smegma, Vom, Robert Pollard of Guided by Voices. So well into his latter life, he's making music. He wrote several books. He got into the architectural criticism. So his most well-known rock book, I think, is called The Aesthetics of Rock. And the book he bought about architecture is called Richard Meltzer's Guide to the Ugliest Buildings in Los Angeles.
Oh,
which
cool.
sounds pretty cool, you know. I mean, not classic, you know, Frank Lloyd Wright stuff, but some ugly, ugly buildings. So I'm gonna go list of Blue Oyster Cult songs that he has written the lyrics to. And I think, Mark, you'll probably know these more than Perry. This is Perry's favorite BOC song, and it's called, he wrote the lyrics to She's as Beautiful as a Foot.
Great song.
So the line, don't cut your tongue in the bloody tamale, whatever that means. I think we know what that means. I think this is dirty shit. He wrote the lyrics to Stairway to the Stars. These are both on the first album. He wrote the lyrics to Teen Archer from the second record, Tyranny and Mutation. He wrote one of my this is from the third album, Secret Treaties, considered by many to be their best album. He wrote the lyrics to Cagey Cretins. It's about inbred people in Maine. It gets so lonely in the state of Maine. Yeah, I bet. He wrote the lyrics to Harvester of Eyes on Secret Treaties.
Yeah.
Great Eric Boom vocal. He wrote the lyrics to what was one of my vocal features in Philocinium. I sang Death Valley Nights. That was one of my covers. It's a pretty song, Albert Bouchard song. He wrote the lyrics to Dr. Music from the album Mirrors.
Yep.
He wrote the lyrics to Lips in the Hills, which is from Cultosaurus erectus Perry, that's the first Martin Birch produced BOC record, which I think you said you're going to listen to. Another great Eric Bloom vocal. He wrote the lyrics to Burning for You, their second big hit, top 40
Really?
hit. Yeah, he wrote the lyrics.
Oh, wow.
Smash hit.
A non-punky.
Probably their biggest hit.
No, Don't Fear the Reaper.
Oh, Don't Fear the Reaper.
Yeah,
right,
I think it's
But
still...
That was their second biggest hit.
Yeah, Don't Fear the Reaper might have gone top 10, I don't know, but Burning for You was in the top 40. But, it was a big hit. Also, Burning for You was one of the earlier 1981 MTV videos, and it is...
Yeah.
I love the band. The video is so cheap.
I remember seeing it. I remember seeing it. That the guy played a
Flying V.
I don't know. But one of them played a guitar without a head on it.
Yeah, well, no, that's in modern days. I don't know if that's a Steinberger, but Eric Bloom...
Steinberger, yeah.
Eric Bloom played the Kronos guitar. He had a guitar shaped in the symbol of Blue Colt's Kronos symbol, the kind of crucifix with the spoon at the bottom. Yeah,
well, kind of like that Prince thing, or
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, less elaborate though.
Hey,
he wrote the lyrics to Veins. The first post-Albert Bouchard album, The Revolution by Night, but not a bad album. He wrote the lyrics to Veins. A song called Spy in the House of Night, I think that's on the Club Ninja record. Yeah. And he wrote the lyrics to Stone of Love, which I don't know, and The Return of Saint Cecilia, which might have been on Imagineers, Mark. I'm not sure. But so that was him. So I knew he was a critic, but I don't remember. I'm not sure if I read any of his reviews. I remember like Robert Christgau, J.D. Considine, who has the most famous and should have been a Pulitzer Prize winning critique of an album, because he reviewed the first GTR album by Steve Howe and Steve Hackett, and his review is GTR SHT. And that's...
Hey, I like the album.
That'll never not be funny. I mean,
is he still alive? Does he have like an online presence, or anything like that?
I don't know, but he's still alive. He's still doing things. I mean, he did the was it the Tropic of Nipples? But I don't know if he's still writing for magazines. Or
steering clear, man.
He's still doing critiques. I don't know.
Did he write for any specific magazine, or was he just freelance?
No, well, he wrote. I mean, I think it was like a freelance, but he was well known, so he could write for anyone. But he wrote for Rolling Stone, Crawdaddy, Cream, The Village Voice. He wrote for.
Oh shit! You wrote for all the rest. Yeah.
But you think of, I don't know where, but considering he's considered the inventor of modern rock criticism, I don't know where he places in people's minds as far as what you. I think of Robert Christgau and J.D. Considine.
I've seen that name so many times in all those magazines we used to read, right?
Yeah, well, you mean Richard Meltzer or?
No, the Christgau.
Christgau, yeah, and even Lester Bangs, I think is more well known.
Yeah,
and I don't know if Lester Bangs, he was a BOC fan, but I don't know if he wrote any lyrics for them. But he was a fan. But yeah, we like what we like.
You got to admire these guys because they pull no punches. They don't pull their punches.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And I've always said with rock critics, a lot of people hate critics because they say, oh, they're just paid to write their opinions. But if a critic says, I love an album and gives it 5 stars, I don't trust that review. But when a critic slams an album and he says it's terrible, I read why they don't like it. And I've discovered more of my favorite albums from critics not liking them. And that's what I love about, like, you go on Amazon. So an album comes out, right? And you go on Amazon. Some people, that's the worst album from this band. But I read it, if they're clear about why they don't like the album, I go, I'm going to like that album, and I order it, and I like it. So, critics serve a definite purpose.
And they're biased about what they like. I mean, if you think about it, Led Zeppelin was never a critic's darling,
right?
And
nor Black Sabbath, right? Yeah.
Or ELP, Emerson, Lake and Palmer either.
Jethro Tull. A lot of heavy metal, a lot of hard rock never got to do. And I've said this before, but David Lee Roth has a very great quote. He's like, most rock critics like Elvis Costello because they look like Elvis Costello.
Yeah. You know what? I notice a lot of critics that are opinionated. They will not like what's in right now. They're looking for the next thing. So in the late 70s, a lot of Rolling Stone critics were hopping on Talking Heads because Led Zeppelin had run a course and they were abandoning that ship. That's probably the detriment of critics is why don't you just judge an album by itself? They do get, hey, if we reviewed albums for a living, we'd be like that too. We have our likes and dislikes,
Yeah, but it's a great thing. Like, the Village Voice, I mean, that's a big newspaper.
Yeah.
It's a big newspaper, and it's, they cover a lot of topics and a lot of music in the Village Voice. So, yeah, we need the critics, I think.
Yeah,
We're all
I agree.
critics actually now, right? With
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course.
anybody who has an online presence is a critic. We
Yeah.
just criticized the Alan Parsons Project record, right?
And
Yep.
I just got a text from Stuart Elliott, the drummer. He goes, "Weak, huh?"
My fist isn't weak.
The no, I know what you're saying. Oh, yeah, it's like I said, that wasn't a dig. That wasn't it. Just that's your critique of what you thought the drums were on that song. It wasn't a slam. You obviously know the guys.
It was not a slam.
Of course not. Of course not.
I wasn't saying anything about the talent of the person. I'm
Of
just
course.
saying about the
Yeah.
recording. Yeah.
No,
So-
nothing. Absolutely.
So that's a
perfectly
little
valid.
jab
Yeah.
at Alan Parsons, probably. When I,
Well,
when I
yeah.
said that.
And who knows? Going back how many times Stuart Elliott might have said, maybe I could have done a little more there. Maybe like as a drummer, I know there's a tendency to sometimes contain you. I've been contained as a drummer because we're just for good or bad. But sometimes the role of the drummer is to be nothing or just to be the simple timekeeper. But
when you work for Alan Parsons, you do as you're told. We all know that. So
yeah.
And what is his beef, by the way, with Dark Side of the Moon and Pink Floyd? I know he was an engineer on the record. And
it's just the fact that the album was on the charts for how many years, and he didn't get a penny out of it. So I think that may be it.
He just got a fee as an engineer.
Yeah,
he
He didn't get a royalty
fee.
percentage, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and let's face it. I mean, those recordings of the cash register, the recordings of the people talking, that was all him. And I guess he feels a little jaded, and that may be partly why he wanted to do his own thing and refused to work on "Wish You Were Here." Don't blame him. You know,
right.
But you know what? Another thing I find about this whole critic thing, what I like is, all right. So Lou, you got me on the Blue Oyster Cult kick. Now, of course, you go to Wikipedia, right? You bring up the first album, you read about it. Then you can move on to the next album, read about it. But when I really read about an album, the second thing I always do, I go to Amazon, pull up the CD, I read the reviews from the listeners. And I love to hear the reviews. And based on those reviews, like, all right, I think that will be my favorite Cult album or one of my favorites, What I hate, though, is I think I've said this many times. I hate when they go, "That's the best Blue Oyster Cult album." No, that's your favorite. Your favorite isn't the best.
Yeah.
There's no best Blue Oyster
ever.
Cult
Yeah,
album because
yeah,
everyone has their own favorite.
Right. So your favorite Zeppelin album is Into the Outdoor.
Yep, and I
Which
would
a lot
be
of
killed
people
for
would
that.
say. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of Zeppelin fans, the hardcore, like they like it, but it's it's not physical graffiti or whatever. But that's your personal favorite. You're not saying that's the best Zepp record. You're following your own word there, walking
My
your own
favorite.
walk.
Record with the Rolling Stones mobile, by the way. Too.
No, Into the Outdoors recorded.
Did they?
at-
No.
No, Rolling Stone.
More.
No. That physical Led Zeppelin
Graffiti was.
recorded.
Yeah.
Physical graffiti. Yeah,
So-
Led Zeppelin recorded like 4 albums using the mobile.
So, in our 3-hour
Yeah.
ride to the Dead and Company show, because traffic sucks in New York City, me and Takena, my son-in-law, had a great discussion on Led Zeppelin, and he doesn't like the first couple albums. They stole a lot of blues songs and they didn't credit, and I agree, but we agreed like Led Zeppelin 4 they were starting to get away from the total blues, and they were getting into, they had a lot of their own thing in there, but Song Remains the Same was their album. We disagreed on which album. He said Physical Graffiti, but Physical Graffiti incorporates a lot of the old recordings. It goes back to Led Zeppelin 3. Ian Stewart's on it, Boogie with Stu. But then, I settled on, I said, absolutely, my favorite, not because Physical Graffiti is a great album. It may be, actually, that may be my favorite. When I say Into the Outdoors, my favorite, because it didn't sound like anything that they had put out. And it was recorded at ABBA Studios in Sweden. Are they from Sweden? Kill me now.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
I mean, just think about it. They recorded up there at the same studio Genesis recorded, and then there were 3 at. And it was just like, that's why I always say it's my favorite. It's just like, it's so different. So,
Yeah.
But if you look on Amazon, if someone said, I really didn't like that album because they had too many keyboards and they were so different, that would pique my interest if I didn't know that album. I'd say, I got to order this album. It doesn't sound like any other Zeppelin album. So that's why I like reading reviews. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's that swinging around back to what Lou was saying about the reviews. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. One thing
And they're wrong a lot of times, too.
Sure.
If the reviewers say, well, Black Sabbath is a piece of crap, or, yeah, right, okay.
And you read on Wikipedia, if you read critical reception of albums, they'll always have the initial reception and then in retrospect. And a lot of the most hated albums in rock history, in retrospect, they're liked because people realize where they're coming from at the time.
Yeah, but Lou is right about the one, when the guy reviewed GTR SHT. Like, yeah, that's
I didn't like the record myself, but I mean,
now you see
that's their shark sandwich. Did you really write that? They didn't say that. That's clever.
See, now here's my guilty pleasure. I love that album. I was in high school. I loved it. So what are you gonna do?
Really?
You know what I miss though? We don't see live concert reviews anymore. I remember getting even the newspaper. Even the Bergen Record in New Jersey would review the Genesis concert at Giant Stadium. You don't see that anymore, and I wish we could see that more.
Well, who reads newspapers anymore?
Yeah,
I do. I still sit on my porch with a paper newspaper.
Really?
So, good for you. Yeah. Now, even with movies, I'm using Roger Ebert as an example. He had some pretty savage reviews of some movies, and then 20 years later, he went and looked again, and he's like, I was wrong. I was rude. Yeah. I was rude.
Yeah. He wasn't exactly right.
He wasn't. But, like I said, time can change your perspective. Now,
yeah, but a guy like Roger Ebert, don't forget, this guy wrote, like, Valley of the Dolls. You know, like, are you going to pan your own movie, pal? Because that's a piece of crap.
Never saw it. Like even going back 20 years, and I lost my train of thought. I was going to jump on there. But anyway, we'll get back.
Oh, you were talking about reviewers.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's nothing.
Well, we went to Led Zeppelin. We drifted to Led Zeppelin, Physical Graffiti. And can I jump in about Houses of the Holy? Lately, I listened to Led Zeppelin, Houses of the Holy, and the first song. What's the first song in Houses of the Holy?
Song remains the same.
I don't know.
Song remains the same.
It's a symphony.
What?
Yeah.
There's like 13 layered guitars on there or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I've seen Robert Plant interviewed, and he gets a kick out of Americans who call the song "Dire Maker." Well, I'm one of those guys.
We
Dire
all were.
Maker.
How would you know? How would you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little snotty. I think.
Yeah.
Like in New Jersey, we have our thing. Jeet yet? It's not did you eat? It's Jeet yet. But no one outside of New Jersey may not know that.
Right, yeah, because we have to save that half a second.
Yeah. Rush.
Gotta get on the turnpike. And I was telling it that opening 1-2 punch, Song Remains the Same into Rain Song. Page that's when he was at, I think, his peak as a songwriter. Those are incredible songs that when you play them on guitar, they're just incredible pieces of music. For me, the rest of the album, I love the whole album, but the rest of the album, those first two songs, that's it. That's it for me. If nothing else, I'm happy,
So you guys disagree with Ginger Baker's assessment of Bonham as he couldn't swing a sack of shit?
I don't disagree with that.
I get a kick out of that. You don't think Bonham could swing? No.
I think he's a rock drummer.
Well, he's
a rock drummer, yeah.
So was Ringo, but Ringo had a swing to his playing. If you listen to A Hard Day's Night, like A Hard Night, it swung, but I mean...
Yeah.
I think maybe... Baker was right to that extent, but that does not certainly make him an inferior drummer, obviously. But he was just heavier and a little more, but he had finesse.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen to Fool in the Rain. Don't you think he has a little swing on that?
Oh, yeah, that's a shuffle. It's a heavy swing.
Yeah, that was that Purdy shuffle thing, right?
Bernard Purdy played drums on that song, I think. It wasn't John Bonham, it was Bernard Purdy. Right? No. Yeah. He came in the studio. I got it.
Don't go there, man.
Now, did Bernard Purdy play on the Curly Shuffle?
Yes.
Yeah,
and he played on the Super Bowl Shuffle, too, didn't he?
Is there such a thing? I don't want to know.
There's the Chicago Bears.
Oh,
won a Super Bowl, I don't know, like in the 1980s, and they did a song called the Super Bowl Shuffle. I'm sure, embarrassing as it may be.
Oh, yeah. Mortifying.
So, guys, can I cut in for a minute?
Yeah.
You're not cutting in. This is our show, Perry. This is our show.
All right. So we are officially, I guess, we're broadcasters, right?
I think broadcast journalists.
But we're broadcast journalists. Whatever we are, we have a responsibility to the public, do we not? As broadcasters. As broadcasters.
Yeah. Responsibility being what?
To be, well, put it this way, like, we have, so I have a public service announcement
Don't drink wine.
As broadcasters, I have a public service announcement. Okay, so we just have to.
In the middle of the block. Don't cross the street in the middle of the block. Teach your eyes to look up. Teach your ears to hear. Walk up to the corner where the coast is clear. And wait.
So, kids,
Harry, you
do not
just
jaywalk, kids.
That's right.
you just saved one kid's
If you
life.
jaywalk, a cop will step on your neck. You know, it's not good. You know, we had a little actual incident with a jaywalker and a police officer last year. It was like, give him a ticket, but don't beat him senseless. You know.
Yep.
Also, cross at the green, not in between.
Yes.
Don't eat paint chips. 'Cause I know I did. I ate a lot of them.
Keep your eyes to look out. Keep your ears to hear. You know.
And if
And,
you're a
keep it-
driver of an automobile in Pearl River, New York, after the hours of 12 a.m. and before 4:30 a.m., assume every walker is drunk off his ass.
And use your goddamn turn signals.
Yep. Oh, by the
not-
way, Lou, I listened to
Stop
Good Day
signs are not
Sunshine.
optional.
I listened to Good Day Sunshine by the Beatles. And I know we've been talking about Ringo a lot. And, you know, of course, the song starts, Good Day Sunshine. But in the intro, he doesn't do it. But during the rest of the song, when it goes, Good Days, he splashes the cymbals.
Yeah.
He splashes the cymbals, and it's an integral part of the song.
Oh, yeah.
Ringo
Yeah.
splashing those cymbals on the chorus. It's amazing.
Not unlike what, well, if it's even him, he did Love Me Do as well. Love Me Do. It's that he just does a
well,
drop.
weren't there three people
Also-
playing on Love Me Do?
There's Alan White,
Yes.
not the Alan White of Yes, but the other English drummer, Alan White.
Right, on the 45 or
yeah.
some version of it, right?
Ringo's on one version, but on the Alan White version, Ringo's playing tambourine, but it's the same part. There's that same
Yeah, yep.
boom. Now on Good Morning,
Yes,
Good Morning,
yep.
he does the same thing. He does that cymbal
Yep.
drop. Good morning. Yeah. I call it. It's a great Ringoism, and whenever I can, I'll do it. If you can do a
I was
Ringo
listening
anywhere,
today.
do a Ringo.
I was watching something today, and they went about what we were discussing recently about Dear Prudence, and how Paul was playing. You know, the basic stuff you hear was just Paul, and then of course when Ringo came back, he started overdubbing all these intricate little in between things that Ringo was so famous for. Mm-hmm. And they're just great. You know, it's Ringo. The Ringo's back, man. You know.
Yeah, and the fills. I mean. Yeah, I've heard Paul as a drummer, and he's really good, really.
Yeah,
but I do think to me, it sounds like Ringo. It might be Paul playing the beat, but that was Ringo coming in doing those.
It's Paul's holding it steady. Yep, and Ringo is the one who put in all that nice, intricate stuff after that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's funny with the Beatles too. John made a good point. He goes, George was the invisible singer. Like, most people think, John and Paul on either side of the stage, but, you can hear when you listen closely, and when you learn about harmony, because I've had to learn about harmony.
On certain songs, absolutely,
So,
yeah.
Now, George could sing rather low. He could also sing pretty high. But, his voice wasn't the strongest of the three, but it's definitely in there. But John said John said George was the invisible singer, and I was the invisible guitar player. Where, if you see the videos, like when you watch the Get Back video, you see John doing it. John had great guitar hands. I watched him play really, and an interview with McCartney after John died. McCartney took some flack for being not heartfelt enough when John died because when he was that devastated, it's hard to be pithy. But he goes John and I would sit in our bedrooms, and he goes, John had beautiful hands. He goes, he had very beautiful hands. He goes, nobody else knows that because I know that about John. That's the thing. No one can take that away from me. And then when I watched Get Back, I watched him play. It was like I got a feeling. I said. He had some really nice hands, but they were. I got little hands. I have drummer hands. I can't do the guitar thing like that, But I watched. I said he had some really good hand structure on his guitar, not being a virtuoso. The Mark's got it.
Well,
look at that. Look at those hands. Look at those hands. There could be a hand model there, pal.
There's so many people who know that John Lennon was a fabulous rhythm guitar player. Fabulous.
Yeah.
Like on what's that song? Dance with Me. Before this dance is through, I
want to be your partner. Can't you see? No.
The rhythm guitar he's playing, I don't know what they're called, triplets or whatever they're called.
And on Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. What's that? I'm going 8 days a week now.
Oh my lovin'.
All my lovin'. That's a lot of fast guitar.
Yeah.
But John's the lead guitarist on was it You Can't Do That?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Really? It's really dirty. It's not very
That's an angry
lyrical.
song.
It's an angry song, but it's a rhythm guitar solo. But that's him playing. And there's one and funny the one live video from a really good Beatles concert when they're playing that song. The camera's not on John; it's on Paul. And John's doing the guitar solo, which you don't see him do on stage with the Beatles ever like that.
Yeah.
Like,
they didn't know how to direct.
Somebody screwed. Yeah, somebody screwed up. But you know what's funny? On one of those earlier concerts from Japan, this is how cheap technology was. Paul's microphone is swirling. So he keeps stopping to it. So this is Paul McCartney of the Beatles having like a friggin' microphone, that doesn't happen now. There's no way that happens now. It's not.
No, I saw one film from, I don't know, 1965 maybe or whatever, and like somebody's mic wasn't working. They just walked over to John's mic and finished the song there. Or something,
They're saying screw it. Nobody could hear him anyway, so they didn't care.
Yeah. Okay, so on the end, on Abbey Road, at the last, there's the 3 guitar solo parts, right? Do you know the order? Who's first, who's second, who's third? I know who's third, it's obvious. I can't tell George and Paul apart. I know John's the third one. Right before the end, and in the end.
I always thought about that.
The third one is definitely John. It's dirty.
You can always tell John, yeah.
It's kind of funky. It's not
rhythmic.
It's not lyrical, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it's Paul, George, then John, I think. But I can't tell George and Paul apart, which says a lot about McCartney as a guitar player.
Yeah. And that was a song with Ringo's only drum solo, too.
Yeah, but he didn't want to do it.
Yep.
I understand his play.
Hey, I got to interrupt.
I was playing a gig at the guitar bar, and it was going good, and the guy turns and goes, "You want to take a solo?" I went, "No."
How about that song?
It's not a good idea to do. It makes you look bad.
How about that song on Abbey Road called "Because"? That's the Beach Boys. They're doing the Beach Boys.
Yeah,
great song.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, when you hear the vocals isolated without, it's just all. It's beautiful. It's amazing.
I mean, you've heard these Paul McCartney records, right? Like the first one, and I think Ram is the second one. He's doing the Beach Boys. That's what he's doing. Yeah. He loves the Beach Boys.
The backseat of my car.
Yeah,
the backseat of my car is the Beach.
It's the Beach Boys. Yep.
Yeah.
And there was
at my most beautiful is REM doing the Beach Boys, including the drums.
I saw this. I saw this thing about Brian Wilson when he was doing. I don't know. I think he was doing not Pet Sounds, but he's got this band where they do every note. They knew everything note for note. You know who I mean, right? This band that he's got, Brian Wilson, and he was doing this gig. I don't know where it was, probably in L.A. somewhere, and all these celebrities. Paul McCartney was there, and Paul McCartney went backstage to talk to Brian. Brian kisses Paul's hand.
Wow.
And Paul's like, "Stop, Brian, you don't understand how great you are. You don't understand how we love you. You don't know, And he's kissing Paul's hand, and Paul's like, no, you are great.
You must kiss my bloody arse. Don't kiss my hand. I'm Sir Paul McCartney. You kiss my royal ass. No, if without Pet Sounds, it wouldn't have been a Sgt. Pepper.
Yeah, well, this might have been where he was doing what was the follow Smile. He did Smile, and I saw and of course Van Dyke Parks was in the crowd. I think I told you this once before, where Van Dyke Parks was weeping in his seat, visibly moved by what was happening on stage because he was the lyricist for a lot of these songs.
Right.
And he was in his seat weeping. In his seat. Unbelievable.
He wrote the lyrics to Heroes and Villains, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I think so.
I think so. Yep.
Now, Heroes and Villains, I liken that to River Deep Mountain High, where it's a better song, but it didn't do what the Beach Boys thought it was going to do. It was supposed to be like a follow-up to Good Vibrations, another one of Brian's Pocket Symphonies.
And
it's a great song, but it didn't do what they thought it was going to do.
Funny you said the critics said it sounds like barbershop quartet junk.
Yeah.
So there's the critics again. Like there's that. Bring it back around to the critics.
Yeah. Now probably they probably go back and eat their hat. But now Smile, I think it's got that. I think it's a dumb song, but McCartney plays on it. Vegetables. I'm going to eat.
He chews on
my
vegetables. He just
right.
chews on vegetables on microphone.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
He didn't play bass. He just okay.
No, he just chewed on some vegetables.
Wow, that's kind of cool. That the song is dumb. It's a dumb song. I'm sorry, Brian. No, I love you. I mean, you're amazing. You are a genius.
Hey, you know what? Let's circle back one thing to McCartney.
And Mike Love is the biggest douchebag in rock and roll.
Agreed. Let's no love and Mike Love. Let's circle back one thing on Paul McCartney. It's got to be really tough to be Paul McCartney. Now, some guy might say, no, he's rich. He's got everything. Like what you said about Brian Wilson wanting to kiss his hand. Like, Paul McCartney, he has to deal with this on a daily basis. People treating him like God. And I hate to circle back to Howard on everything, but Howard had a good story because he's had Paul McCartney on. Yeah,
Howard Stern.
He's had him on like 3 or 4 times as a interview. But he gave this great story once. He said he was I forget what the event was, but he was there for a few days, and there was Paul McCartney, and Paul was like, Howard, how are you? Because he's always been close to him. Like he likes that. So Paul, Howard's like, oh, Paul McCartney's my friend. So like they were talking, everything, and then the next day he came back to wherever they were, and I can't remember what the event was, and he had someone with him, and he said, Paul, I think it was someone in his family, and he said, look, it might have been his daughter, I can't remember. And Paul looked at him like, who are you? And what Howard said is he's got this protection thing. Like, he's in a bubble, but for a reason. Like, okay, Howard, I'm close to you, but if you bring someone in, I can't let that in because this is Paul McCartney. And it's like, so, yeah, you may be a good friend with him one day, and the next day he may not. And it's not that he's not being nice. It's like he's got to move on or whatever. I mean, this guy, think of the thousands of people he's been in contact with through his life. But that when he said that, it just told me, like, when you're as iconic as that, it can drive people to nervous breakdowns, as we've seen, and Paul handles it in the way he handles it. And I think he's really great at handling it. And I think that's also why he's so ready to play with younger bands like Dave Grohl and Foo Fighters. It's just his way of saying, hey, I like you, but it's weird. It's a strange thing. Like, he's definitely a loner. Like, he is alone. He can talk to a million people, but he's Paul McCartney, so he has to stay in his bubble. He's got a few trusted people, and that's it. And so, yeah, it's like, that thing with Brian Wilson probably made him feel really uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable.
Yeah, but look at what happened to his two bandmates, right?
Yeah.
Two of them almost got murdered.
Right.
I mean, George Harrison nearly got murdered.
Yeah.
He was very close
right?
to it.
Yeah.
A lot of people said George was never the same after that.
Yeah, I heard the same.
Whether some people think, whether you speculate, someone thought his health issues after that were a direct result of the trauma of that.
I heard that his cancer got worse or something. It did something.
Or it happened after that.
Well, when you live on a giant estate like that, and somebody could break into a basement window,
you never know. They could
half
be living
a mile down the road. You'll never know.
No, they could be living in the West Wing.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened. He smelled cigarette smoke. Like, it wasn't me. And he went down there, and
really,
the guy. I think he took a lance off a suit of armor or something. But so apparently George's wife, she has martial arts training, so she helps her do them. But she
clocked the guy
over
the head with a lamp or something, right?
Or
a fireplace poker or something.
Fireplace poker, yeah. I would have stabbed him in the head with it.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah,
what?
I read the thing where George said he had him in he goes, he felt himself getting weak, and he thought that was it,
Yeah.
Ugh.
Anyway, newsflash, we have the Relish music. Yeah. All right. The clip for Strawberry Fields Forever was directed by Peter Goldman, a Swedish television director who had been recommended to the Beatles by their mutual friend, Klaus Voormann.
Klaus Voormann.
Yep. So it was a Swedish commercial.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So, Perry, I've been going through that the Beatles book you gave me about the what's that called? The singles or the songs that they put out post Beatles.
Post Abbey Road or something. Yeah. Or after Abbey Road or
But I saw how Klaus Voormann played on a lot of it.
A lot for John and George, right?
And what I didn't know until today was that Jim Gordon is the drummer on What Is Life.
I knew that, yeah.
Okay.
That is great. Is that not? That is one of my favorite George Harrison songs.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
And they remixed it. So initially, when they first recorded, George thought it was too reverb heavy. And
really?
So the remix is how the reverb toned down. But he was going. I mean, it's Phil Spector, so he was going for that wall of sound, that whole Phil Spector thing. And there's one song, I think it's Ringo and Jim Keltner on the same one. That might have been yeah, I think so. But it was interesting because they're mentioning some of the early Lennon stuff, like songs like Mother. I mean,
yeah.
For what it is at the time,
that John Lennon stuff.
No,
really?
I mean,
I love Mother.
Oh, it's heavy and all, but it is just or my mummy's dead. I mean,
yeah. I don't know, it always changes. It always changes, I'm into John, but then I'm into Paul, then I'm into Ringo with his pop hits, and I mean, I love It Don't Come Easy. I love that. That's one of my go-to Ringo songs.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. If I'm listening to Ringo, I always go to It Don't Come Easy first.
Yeah. That might be Klaus Vormann on bass on that one too.
Yeah, could be. Yep.
So for people out there, and we mentioned this one time, and this is a mistake I wanted to correct a while back, and I forgot. Klaus Vormann was one of their first friends when the Beatles went to Hamburg. So Klaus Vormann and his friend Astrid Kircher were influences on the Beatles' style, the way they dressed. They were leather teddy boys.
Yeah,
they put them in black turtlenecks like German existentialists. But Astrid Kircher was the girlfriend of Stu Sutcliffe, who was in the early Beatles with Paul McCartney, and he was John's best friend that died. He was a great artist, but so Klaus Vormann. Is that Mark?
Ashton Kushner?
Astrid Kircher. She died. Okay. She died a couple years ago. Ashton Kircher. No relation. Ashton Kircher. Oh God.
Well, Stu Sutcliffe was like Sid Vicious. He looked cool with the bass, but he couldn't really play it.
Couldn't play, and that's funny because that's where McCartney gets part of his bad guy reputation because Paul was a perfectionist, and here it is. Here's a guy in the band that wasn't really pulling his weight. Maybe he was jealous because he was John's buddy, but still, as a musical decision, just like Pete Best really had to go. At least Stu Sutcliffe knew it. He's just like, when he got to be replaced, he's like, yeah, okay, But Paul ended up taking up his instrument, and to great effect. Another.
Well, they were still Teddy Boys back then, posing. They were posers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, they were. She took a lot of those early photographs of them, and but that was.
She created that Beatle haircut, right?
She did. I think her and Klaus actually had that bowl cut. And so then they adopted it, but I don't hear Klaus Vormann saying that was my haircut.
Yeah,
but I never knew up until you sent me that video of him playing the beginning of that Carly Simon song. You're so vain. I didn't know he was I didn't know he was that accomplished a musician.
But
going through it, like okay, he was legit. Did he play back then? Why didn't he become the bass player in the Beatles?
Well, out there he's retiring now, so out there on YouTube. There's a thing about Klaus Vormann visiting Ringo, visiting Paul, and visiting all these people that because he's winding his career down now. Yeah. He's 80 years old, and he's just winding it all down. So he visited Carly, and they're like, "Oh, Klaus," and he played that little, that "You're So Vain" thing in the beginning.
I really thought that was Lee Sklar. I thought
she was saying that.
Yeah, me too.
A lot of people assumed it was Lee Sklar, the Mellow Mafia. Yep, because he probably played on a lot of her records, a lot of her songs as well.
Yeah.
But so Klaus was visiting Carly, and they're like, "Oh, this is great," and he actually played that, and like she said when they were recording it. And she heard it through the headphones. She thought he was just fooling around or whatever. And then Richard Perry. It was Richard Perry, the producer, I think, who said, no, that's staying in, and we're keeping that, and that's going to be I might be wrong about Richard Perry, but I think Richard Perry was the producer on it.
Okay.
Who said, let's keep that as the intro.
We've talked about drummers, guitar players, even keyboard players. We haven't talked about bass players too much. We mentioned McCartney or some of we should do a little thing on...
That's Lee Sklar, by the way. That's a great picture.
He looks like the abominable snowman here because
he's got a coffee table book of people giving him the middle finger. He loves that. So there's this whole 200 pictures of everybody in the music business just giving him the finger.
How quirky.
Yeah. He tells a great story in the documentary about the Wrecking Crew. about Tommy Tedesco, where they were doing like for something from a movie or a television show or something, and the music stand was there. And all you can see is, like he said, it was like, Kilroy was here. All you can see is Tommy Tedesco's head like this. And the musical director says, can you play a bouzouki? Can you play a mandolin? And he only had was one acoustic guitar. So he just kept. And Lee Sklar said after that, he goes, "Oh, this guy is like taught me so much just from that right there."
Yeah.
He's definitely a character.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's a group of musicians we could talk about every episode. I fell asleep with the TV on, with YouTube on, and I woke up. For some reason, the Wrecking Crew documentary was on YouTube, which I have it on DVD, but I'm subliminally listening to it, But I woke up and Hal Blaine is talking. I'm like, he wrote on. He intimidated a lot of other drummers who did sessions. Yeah, man. Like whenever he'd do a session of this, he'd write on the wall, Hal Blaine was here, or the Wrecking Crew was here. Well, he came up with the term the Wrecking Crew, but he would like Hal Blaine was here. So some drummer would come in and sit down and be like, "Shit."
Yeah.
Like, did you have to do that? It's kind of it's a cocky thing, but it's kind of friendly. I don't think he was a dick about anything.
Yeah.
But he just talked about some of the songs that they played on, and some of those even Hal Blaine played on even earlier rock and roll records in the 50s too. But he goes, I was making millions of dollars. He goes, I was playing great music. There was no complaints.
Yep.
Until you get divorced.
But may I say that? No, you go ahead.
I was going to. Well, eventually, I have another person I'd like to talk about, but if you had,
no, you go. Let me just do a little side note there.
Yeah.
It's amazing thing about when you said the Wrecking Crew and Stranger. Like my lady's mother has Alzheimer's, and we go to visit her in the home, and she's 85, 86 years old, but if you play Frank Sinatra, she knows every single word. If the intro comes in, she already knows the song just from the intro. So I was playing Strangers in the Night for her last week. Right away she knew, do. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
The memory that people have. They
With
don't
the-
remember what they had for lunch.
No.
But they know all of these songs.
Or
Every
sadly, what
single
your name
word.
is.
Listen, Perry.
My dad had the same thing. I know it's the same thing with music. My father. It's funny it comes to Sinatra because my dad that was his idol, and I'm sure Donna's mom was a nice Italian lady, and that's just what we do. But music, someone I know who works with people with Alzheimer's, that is one of the things that your mind doesn't like when you play music. When someone actually, my friend Melody, who plays with us at the Spiritual Center, she goes to some of these homes and she goes, these people you cannot hold a sustained conversation. And like I said, I did with my dad. He's like, "What's your name?" "My name's Lou." "That's my name." And we do that for 10 minutes.
Right.
But when he'd see Karen, he'd go, "Katie." It was a song he associated with Karen, my sister Karen, as a kid.
Yep.
But Melody mentioned when she starts playing, they're like they pick up and they will remember the lyrics. That's amazing because your mind, your brain is just being destroyed. But something about music, and I was talking actually this Sunday at the center before we played the service. My friend Jin, who's also a drummer, but she does a lot of healing therapy with music. She mentions about the vibrational frequencies in our bodies. I mean, it's very esoteric, and you may not believe it, you may not.
Yeah.
But the vibrational frequencies of music, it's like cymology or something like that. But they actually take pictures of musical vibrations, but they're in our bodies. The connection in our brains to it, like how can you not remember the woman you were married to for 50 years, but you can recall the lyrics to some song from the 40s? And what?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's the healing power of music.
Listen. It's strong. I mean, my Irish grandmother, she was born in Ireland, but she grew up in France until she was 12, 13, and she moved back to Ireland. And she lived to be 99, and she had dementia. I don't know if it was Alzheimer's, but it was definitely dementia. In her last 5 years, she started singing French songs. Now, here's my Irish grandma singing French songs.
Yeah.
And it's perfect. And there's nothing more beautiful than these old French songs. So she would be in the nursing home singing. She also sang one English song, The Halls of Montezuma, because she grew up during World War II. But it was amazing to hear that. I had never heard her sing before, before she had dementia. And all of a sudden she's just, Grandma, you speak French, of course she did. She lived in France. It's just, music has a cosmic, and I'll say cosmic, but I agree with
no,
you. It's the vibrations.
Good, yeah.
It's the vibrations in your body.
Yeah.
It's whatever that some people will call it the chakra and all that. But you're right. It's you may not remember the person you're with, but you'll remember those melodies because that person you're with doesn't vibrate your body unless I won't get into that. But so.
And also, she can't remember the name of her late husband, but if you start playing Frank Sinatra, they start moving their arms.
Exactly. Yeah.
They start doing this, and they're like, they don't even realize they're exercising because of the music.
Yeah.
At the spiritual center, they do the bowls. They're big bowls. They look like plastic frosted bowls, but they hit them and they run the things around it.
Yeah.
And they're vibrating. So it's pretty cool because I just try not to think about it. I try to clear my head. That's my meditational thing. Before we play.
Yep.
But after I said, this is what they do, and it's kind of funny. Then they have these little bells, these Tibetan bells that they ring before the ending. Our friend Sot Mitter's Sot has several little bowls that he does. He showed me pictures. They're really cool. I'd like one, but they're little tiny things. But you hit them, and you just, so he's into the sound vibrational healing too. And, there's music calms the savage beast. Mark's. It's like when you run your finger around the wine. Mark, can you run your finger around the wine glass and make that blowing sound?
Yeah, I don't have. It's not wet. I'm sorry, Lou.
It's empty.
I'm sure you could. Okay, all right.
I'm as dry as the Sahara.
Man.
But music is the great equalizer.
It is.
It is. It's the great healer. It's the universal language.
Yeah,
think about it.
Absolutely.
Your grandmother was singing Edith Piaf songs in another language. I mean, and recalling that.
Yeah. So I mean, that wasn't downbeat. I mean, it was just a
No.
It was a mature little side note, right?
No, it's incredibly positive.
Yeah, I may be one of those people in 20 years. Like I don't know.
It's why the three of us have this podcast.
Enjoy every
we love
sandwich.
music. We love music in a spiritual way, So
Yep. Oh, speaking of that,
when my dog died, right, my beloved buddy. I mean, I never knew I'd be so distraught. I mean, of an animal. I was devastated.
Buddy.
I love Buddy. You all met Buddy. You guys knew Buddy. Loved you.
I cannot talk about.
But one day I went and
I can't do it. I'm going to have to shut my camera off.
Just don't start crying. I'm gonna. But I went on my drums one night. I said I can't take this. I said I can't. I went. And played my drums for an hour. I did it so much and hard. I hurt tendons in my forearms. Right?
Yeah.
So I thought I'd snap some cables in there, but
sometimes I like animals more than people.
Yeah. Well, Buddy was my heterosexual canine life mate. So
well, that's the good thing about like dogs and cats. They're asexual. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter whether they're male or female. It's unconditional love from the animal. Yeah. Yep.
Rock
so
dog.
I saw a tree.
Wait, can I say something?
Yeah.
Buddy is actually on Sot Mitter's Traces CD because I had him locked out of the studio.
Really?
I learned don't lock your dog. So there's a part. It's on. Actually, it's on the song Traces. I think your buddy go under and they go.
And I happen to know that
your cat's on one of our songs.
And Bell and Sot says on the back of his EP for Bella, and I know he had a dog, Bella, that he adored. That he was. I'm sure he was just so broken up about it, and I understand. Like, I like people who like animals. You know what I mean. I don't understand people who do not like animals.
No, what is that? My employers are Greyhound rescuers. So at our wine shop, the Mighty Metro Wines, 169 Charlotte Street, Asheville, North Carolina, voted best of WNC 6 years in a row. Anyway, we've had the wolf dogs come in. We do animal giveaways where there's some of the local pets what they call them. Rescue centers will bring the dogs into the shop. You can actually adopt a dog out of our shop. Really, really cool.
Wow.
Our website, our monthly, weekly email, we always have the bottom. Send us pictures of your shop dogs. So, that being said, one of our customers brought in an Italian Mastiff. It's a baby hippopotamus, and it bit me on the hand. I actually have a scar where it bit me on the hand when I put the guy's case of wine into his car. This hippo head came out and nipped me on the hand. I'm like, look, I'm not playing like that. There's a drummer in the '60s called Multi. He had a hook hand, but he was a drummer. I don't know how the hell he did that. He's not one of those '60s one-hit wonder things. I forgot the name of the band, but we should look that up. That's a curiosity. But anyway, we love animals. Sometimes they are better than people. Here's how great animals are. In the movie Silence of the Lambs, Buffalo Bill the Killer, his little dog Precious loved him.
Yeah.
Precious, don't you hurt my little dog. The dog did unconditional love.
When he jumped down the pit, right?
Yeah.
Well, she got pulled down the pit by the girl by the top. Anyway, so
Yeah.
And everybody was rooting for the dog over the girl.
yeah.
Well,
maybe
anyway,
me.
I saw some tribute of Sting. There was a tribute to Sting. I don't know if it was like the Kennedy Center or whatever it was. I just happened to scan through it, and Jose Feliciano was playing Every Breath You Take.
Wow.
And so he's singing it, and then he starts wailing on his Spanish guitar. Sting is visibly moved in his seat. He's sitting there with his wife. I mean, he was blown away by it. I mean, you can see how visibly moved he was by Jose Feliciano interpreting Every Breath You Take.
Yeah.
I think Jose Feliciano is a great interpreter. I love his version of "Light My Fire."
Absolutely, yeah.
It's the
Yep.
dun, 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 light my fire, light my fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jose Feliciano was great in Fargo as well. Remember the
Jose
scene in Fargo?
Feliciano also played bass on Light My Fire.
Really?
Okay, wait,
Yeah,
hold
he
on,
played
hold
bass
on.
that as well. Yep.
Hold on. What did Jose do in Fargo? I'm really losing my mind here.
There's a scene in some like wood paneled restaurant where Steve
yeah.
Buscemi and the Marlboro Man and the two hookers are having dinner, and he's the entertainment. Yeah, I don't know what he's playing.
Brain fart.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what is as far as and this is off the Sting thing, but Jose Feliciano, he did a TV sitcom theme in the 70s.
Yeah. Chico and the Man.
Yep. Chico, don't be discouraged.
Yep.
And also, he was mentioned. His name was used in an Odd Couple episode. Oscar used it against Murray, I guess, when they were doing the Fisticados. You know what he called him?
What?
Nose Feliciano. Because Al Molinari, who played it, he had a rather large proboscis or whatever.
Yeah.
So when God was handing out noses, he thought he said roses and said, "I'll take a dozen." So that Sting tribute. Did you see anyone else play on it, or Sting didn't play?
No, I only saw that. Like I said, I don't know if it was like Kennedy Center or something like that, but
Right.
but he was blown away by this. I mean, can you imagine? Like you're Sting now. People are interpreting your songs. Like I've mentioned to you one time where there was a Kennedy Center. I think it was a Kennedy Center honors, and they were honoring Bruce Springsteen, and Bruce is sitting there with his wife and his the kids, and people are somebody they're interpreting songs, and somebody plays My Father's House. Ben Harper plays My Father's House, which from Nebraska, I believe it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think so.
I think it was My Father's House, and
I got it.
And people, not Bruce, but people are weeping in the audience, weeping because it was such a beautiful it's a beautiful song, but a beautiful rendition of a beautiful song. And I'm not a Bruce fan. In fact, that I have two records. I have Nebraska and The Ghost of Tom Joad. Those are the only Bruce Springsteen records I have.
Do you
I
like
do not
them?
I do not like the E Street Band. There's too many guitar players, too big of a band, too much. I don't like Max Weinberg as a drummer. I think he's ham-handed. But, all right, sorry about that.
But My Father's House is on Nebraska, and I am a Bruce Springsteen fan. I am an E Street fan, but I didn't become an E Street fan until my 20s. So there you go. Our first argument.
You're a late bloomer.
There are three guitar players, but like, what are they playing? I mean, it's not it's not like
It's funny. I never hear Steve Van Zandt's guitar when I watch the DVDs. I got a ton of DVDs. I'm like, I can't. I'm listening to hear him, and I don't hear him.
Yeah,
I know he's playing.
Even if he's not there, they have Nils Lofgren on guitar. They have Bruce on guitar. They have Patty Scalfa on guitar. Anybody who's just give him a guitar.
Yeah, and Nils is the virtuoso of that group. So yeah.
They are a great bar band, and I mean, I think Max is a good drummer. Now Max has something. You said ham-handed, but
I know he's skilled. I know that.
Well,
yeah.
but the thing is,
you've called him ham-handed. To me, you've said that.
There have been times, yeah, but
yeah.
I mean, there's I think good and bad ham-handed. But what he does have, and it's about the book he wrote, and not all great drummers have this. It's called The Big Beat. It's
Yeah.
that 2 and the 4 that you can build your house on.
Yeah.
Some of the best drummers don't really have that feel, But that it's all personal taste and interpretation, But it's a very seasoned. They're the world's most seasoned bar band is really what they are.
Yeah.
And Bruce did the thing where I think when Bruce did his first Amnesty International tour with Sting, Peter Gabriel, Yasudinor, and stuff like that. And I remember when he did that tour, I said he's going to come back and fire the band because he's playing with these international drummers. He might have jammed with Omar Hakim or Manu Katche's drummers, and he came back and probably thought, well, I'm Bruce Springsteen, and I'm gonna let these guys go and stuff. So he did those 2 albums, Human Touch and Lucky Town, which are good records.
We knew that was like.
I like that song, Lucky Town. I do.
Yeah.
But we knew that was
that's Gary Malaber.
Yeah, we knew it was a blip in time. Joe Porcaro played on one of those albums too.
Jeff Porcaro.
You guys carry on.
That was
carry on, guys. I'll be right back.
All right,
I'll be right back. One of my nieces is calling me.
Sure.
I'll be right back.
All right.
I think that was right before Jeff's death. I think that might have been released posthumously.
All I know is tomorrow morning, Tom Spallone's going to rip me a new one. Every time I screw up with Toto, I get destroyed. Okay, Tom. All right, destroy me. Yeah, they were good albums. They were very good compositions, and I understood why he went that way. Because remember when he put out the album after Born in the USA, Tunnel of Love? Yeah, right.
I think it was.
He just wanted to get away from the typical sounds. I could see, you get stuck and you just want to break out. And then he did those 2 albums. Everyone hated them, and I'm like, I love those albums. They were great.
Yeah, the true fans, you can be a true fan and only like the Jersey period, or whatever. But Tunnel of Love has got some standout tracks. Tunnel of Love, I think that's Max on drums. Actually, there's a drum machine in there too. But One Step, My Hometown, I think it's on it. No, My Hometown's on Born USA.
One Step,
One Step Up or One Step.
One
forward.
Step Back.
One Step Back. That's a great song.
That's
a real great song.
Well, that album was like kind of a mishmash of home recordings, and you said drum machines, but he got some of the E Street guys on it. And he did the tour with the E Street band too. So.
Yeah, and Roy Bittan, that's like his Paul Schaefer. So Roy Bittan was there.
Yeah,
but, Human Touch and Lucky Town. Human Touch was not reviewed as well as Lucky Town. Human Touch, that's Jeff Porcaro on drums. Lucky Town's got Gary Malaber on drums, who's the drummer, mostly known for the Steve Miller Band, and Eddie Money's recordings, like Baby Hold On to Me. That's Gary Malaber on drums, and he's also a well-rounded musician. But Lucky Town, I think it was the least. But to put them out simultaneously, when I heard them, I said, "Well, I liked Tunnel of Love." I think sometimes you got to step away, but even the stuff like The Ghost of Tom Joad, Western Stars. I know some Bruce fans that are really big Bruce fans that don't like Western Stars. I'm like, I can't fathom that.
Western Stars has, to me, it's got a Van Dyke Parks influence. I can't place it.
The whole idea of his album, he wanted to record something. He was thinking Gold Star Records, late 60s, Glenn Campbell, that era. He wanted to write those cinematic songs.
It's a great album.
God damn, he did it. I think it's one of the best things he's ever done.
Yeah.
By the way, sorry guys. One of my nieces was Uncle Perry. They were yelling down the stairs. So.
Okay.
Oh, is everything okay over there?
We couldn't even just screaming at them to leave you alone.
They wanted to see their Uncle Perry. That's all.
Uncle Perry.
You can see him anytime.
Yep. You know what? I'll forward them the video. That's what I'll do.
I'll tell you what.
That's how I exist now.
This is what Uncle Perry does on Sunday nights. You're head in a jar now, Perry. That's what you are.
Yeah. We're broadcasters now. You want to do another public service announcement? We've got responsibilities now, guys.
And kids,
if you
don't do fentanyl
wine,
patches. Yeah.
I was going to say, if you drink
wine,
fentanyl,
don't do cocaine, drink wine.
Stay in school.
And
if
you do wine and you make your own wine, wash your feet before you make the wine.
Absolutely.
Okay? Yeah.
And keep your nose clean and don't fuck up.
Keep your nose clean.
You remember, I used to like Hall & Oates. I used to like a couple of Hall & Oates. But then, in the 80s, when MTV, it was overkill, man. I couldn't stand them.
Yeah.
It was like... And it was like they didn't even write songs. It was only the hook. I can't go for that. Well, no can do. It was just...
80s, listen back to some of that 80s period. There's some nice songs in there. One-on-One.
Sure. Yeah.
One-on-One's a nice song. I mean, Daryl Hall's he's a great singer. He's a great vocalist.
Say it isn't so.
Well,
That was
you know
a
who's
good song.
underappreciated? You know who? John Oates. That
John
guy's
Oates.
underappreciated, man. That guy had a lot more to do with it than you might think.
Yeah,
Well, it's funny, Perry. Louie and I were driving in the car with my son Louie, and one of the songs come on. He goes, Hall and Oates. He goes, what does Oates do? I said, well, he was the co-writer. He's a guitar player. And then we heard I think Sarah Smile. I think he sings the intro part. And nice voice, but he just wasn't Daryl Hall, you know. But John Oates put out an album out last year or the year before, that kind of Americana thing. But even some of those songs, even like, you're making my dreams, that's great pop. I mean, at the time, I thought the same thing, Perry. I mean, my influence, what I was playing at the time was not that type of music. But, you find yourself, tapping along, like a lot of disco. I did the same thing.
He's a really good
disco
guitar
sucks.
player.
But then you hear Tramp's Disco Inferno and you're boom, 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 boom. You're doing it against your will. But they even knew it was overkill. The reason they stopped, they pulled back was because they said, we just overkilled it during the 80s. But goddamn if it worked.
Well, did you know something about Daryl Hall? Even in the 70s, he's a true artist because in the 70s, he wanted to branch out. So he recorded his first album, Voices, in 1977 or 78, and Robert Fripp from King Crimson produced it and played on it.
Wow.
I remember you telling me that,
The record label shelved it for like 2 years until there was some kind of like outcry, release it. But Daryl Hall also sang on Robert Fripp's first solo album. So I always said Daryl Hall has a side to him. He just, and Perry, we also talked about this. If you watch that show he had with all the different bands,
Daryl's house.
Yeah, he likes all kinds of music. And let's face it,
he's rocking out with Cheap Trick.
Yeah, if you're going to be friends with Robert Fripp, you are a serious musician. You're not, So
you said they didn't want to release it to offend Hall and Oates fans or something.
They were afraid that it would
alienate them.
Yeah, and it was stupid because Hall and Oates fans, if they did buy it and they didn't like it, so what? Hall and Oates were always going to be around. I think that Daryl Hall was probably like, you're getting this, let me out, let me do something different. So that was the only,
Even Morris Gibb from the Bee Gees, he's the invisible. He was the invisible singer in the Bee Gees. Most people, he never sang many leads, but if you took his voice out, you'd be like, what the hell's the 1/3 of the thing is missing? But
I like Robin. I like Robin's voice better.
Robin had a beautiful voice. Morris is my favorite Bee Gee.
Voice.
Who? Morris was my favorite Bee Gee.
Really?
Because he was a musician. He was the guy. He played almost every instrument. Although, especially in the earlier stuff, going up into the disco period, all the keyboards, the bass. He played guitar. He was the musician, the arranger. He was this. He was the back. He was the back of the house guy, really. But he was the one. He didn't sing many leads. If you ever care to listen, he in 2001, one of the last Bee Gees albums before he died way too young. He had a song called "Man in the." I'm just a man in the middle. It's a great song. It almost sounds like a new wave. It could have been done by the church, or it could have been done by the Fix or something.
Excess.
But maybe not in excess, but it was a little more moodier. It's a very minor key. It's an E minor thing. But it's a great song. It's a great vocal. But he had Robert. He did an album, a solo album thing in the mid '60s, and they did not release it for the same reason that it might affect the Bee Gees. But Robin quit the Bee Gees at one point, and he had a solo. Yeah, late '60s. He quit because him and Barry were clashing. Robin had an ego. He did an album called Robin's Reign, and Morris and Barry carried on for a bit without him. He rejoined. Then he started having those early '70s hits. How Do You Mend a Broken Heart? Great songs, great songs, great songwriting.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that picture too. By the way, they recorded at 461 Ocean Boulevard also.
Yeah,
and they all
was that Criterion?
No. I mean, while they were recording at Criterion, they stayed at 461 Ocean Boulevard, where Clapton and Derek and the Dominoes stayed, and they all took pictures, like on the back of the Clapton record. The Bee Gees took pictures like Clapton at that palm tree or whatever it was back there. Right. I'd like to see those pictures.
Mainline Florida.
Well, I like Barry Gibb the best because he had great hair.
He really did.
There you go. Yeah.
And he's alive.
Yeah, really.
That was terrible.
So earlier, we were talking about, you mentioned the Wrecking Crew. And last week I was doing some research for that week's podcast, and I found out there was an English version of the Wrecking Crew.
Really?
It was Jimmy Page, goddamn, the drummer Bobby Graham that I mentioned last week. But the name I mentioned the name Vic Flick.
Vic Flick.
And Perry, you said Vic Flick. You're like Lou. You've heard much of the stuff he's playing. You'd be surprised at what he played on. I think he's still alive, but Vic Flick
is still alive. Yeah.
Okay. English guitar player, but what he did is he's a guitar player on the James Bond theme. Actually, that was Help. But
that's Vic. That's Vic Flick.
That's Vic Flick.
Yep.
Yep. So he's a guitar player on the James Bond theme. He's also on the Help soundtrack. So he's a guitar player. And the beginning of Help, even the single version, that's him doing the James Bondish guitar part.
On the George Martin produced.
He was
the George Martin score, right?
Yes, yeah. on the soundtrack to the movie. But on the single Help, the beginning, that's him playing the guitar in the beginning, a la James Bond style. He was a member of the George Martin Orchestra. But also, he was on the So he was a guitar player on Jukebox Jury, the Dr. No soundtrack. He played with Nancy Sinatra, Dusty Springfield, Paul McCartney. He's played the 12-string guitar on Peter and Gordon's Lennon McCartney cover of World Without Love.
That was Vic Flick. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
wow.
Please lock me away.
Yep.
Also, he played on there with Herman's Ermits on Silhouettes. It's Not Unusual by Tom Jones. That guitar.
That's Vic Flick.
That's Vic
Son
Flick.
Of a gun, man.
Yeah. And he's also the guitar player on Petula Clark Downtown. That's Petula Clark.
Great song.
Yeah, so he was part of the. I mean, I'd like to learn more about these other musicians because the American version up until everything came out of the '60s was basically the Wrecking Crew. If you're lucky, but the England had their own version of that, and like Bobby Graham was that drummer that played on so many things. But yeah.
Well, can I just cut in for 1 second? I watched this show one time about these. It's called Pawn Stars, where these guys have a pawn shop in Las Vegas. Vic Flick comes in with a 1962 Stratocaster that he wants to sell. So, and they said, so the guy asked him, "Who are you?" He says, "Well, I'm Vic Flick. I played on a lot of records in the 60s and, and 70s." And so they call in a guy from a music store, and he's like, "Oh, this is Vic Flick. This guitar right here, this 62 Stratocaster, or whatever it was, is so famous, has been on so many recordings."
It's a Telecaster.
This was a Stratocaster. This was a Stratocaster. Okay. This one he was trying to sell was a Stratocaster.
Okay.
But I'm sure, and I've seen him on the James Bond thing. He didn't play Stratocaster. He played a semi-hollow, whatever it was. But
I have the name of that guitar. I'll tell her when you're done. Yeah.
But once they found out, about Vic, whoa, this guy's been on so many recordings. Yeah.
Apparently, on the soundtrack, the soundtrack there was the Help, but Ringo's theme, This Boy.
Yeah.
On the soundtrack, he's playing. I think it's like a '62 Telecaster. That's why I thought the guitar he was selling was a Telecaster. I think the guitar he played on the James Bond was a Clifford Essex Paragon Deluxe. He played the James Bond theme. It's on display at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
It's a semi-hollow.
Cleveland.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you do know that the...
So now, wait, can I throw something else before? Because it's a conjunction, because this week there's a death in the music industry, and the death was Monty Norman, who composed the James Bond theme.
Just going to bring that up, yeah.
Did you really, Mark?
Yeah.
I was reading that right before we were doing our little sound check. I said, I had the news on, I'm like, oh, that's kind of coincidence. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder there, buddy.
I opened up my New York Times the other day, and I said, oh, crap.
Yeah. Well, this is what I love about it. This is just coincidental. We didn't plan that. This is just coincidental,
Yeah. It's just a totally iconic theme,
Yeah.
What are you all doing?
Great.
Oh, and by the way, since this is such a good conversation...
I was doing this is the whirling finger of Zeitgeist.
That's the Zeitgeist.
This is the whirling finger of synchronicity.
So, by the way, I guess somebody has to say, all right, so we've done a few shows now, and, we're on YouTube. So, I mean, if anyone likes them, subscribe, hit like, thumbs up, whatever you do, those kind of things.
Leave some comments.
And even on Facebook, we have a Facebook page. Click like and follow.
Well, when you say we have a Facebook page, you're saying there is a Music Relish podcast Facebook page that
I
you
will-
started?
You weren't
Yes.
at that meeting, Perry. You didn't get the memo
I
on that
will.
No.
What I do is, Perry, is I put up each episode. It's a link to YouTube. But if we talk about any songs, I may just post some of the songs we talked about. So if listeners find something interesting, oh, gee, I could click on that link and hear that song that Lou talked about or whatever. So
Well, you put up BOC's She's Beautiful as a Foot.
yeah, that's
Maybe we should
Perry's
put
theme
some-
song.
Right.
Yeah.
And also anything that
And he
we
is.
talk about here, we could wait, this is what YouTubers do. They go, link in the description down below. Link in the description down below.
Hashtag
getting
she's
slick.
as beautiful as a foot, or hashtag foot.
Yeah, we're gonna link up the Alan Parsons Project record.
Oh, we got we
I-
we
yeah.
we got to do this for Tom Swillen, Steve Wilson, REM, Michael Stipe, and I don't know who else, but yeah, that's for you, Tom.
Alan
Mark,
Bouchard.
Albert Bouchard.
Albert Bouchard McCann, let him out. On the BOC fan page I'm on, there was a Stephen Wilson mention about.
Really?
It was unrelated to BOC, but some guy said, this is not about BOC, but he goes, you should listen to these Stephen Wilson remixes, and he mentioned a lot of the ones that you've been talking about.
Look, everything about the guy, his solo recordings, Porcupine Tree, and his remixes. By the way, guys, iconic day. 3 weeks after it was released, Porcupine Tree's new album came to my door direct from England. It took 3 weeks for those freaking record company to get me the release. So I got it. And yesterday I opened up, probably the last time, a new Porcupine Tree release and put it in, and I was rocked. And I'm going to see him at Radio City in September. Can't wait.
All right. Nice.
Yep.
Now, can we give a shout out to our friends, everyone out there? There's a great music discussion podcast called Milk Crates and Turntables.
Absolutely. Scott's
With
been good to us.
Our friend Scott McLean, he's been very good to us. Mark and I have been on twice.
Scott McLean and Jack Calabrese.
Jack Calabrese,
and
yeah.
at times Tom Spallone.
Yes, our friend Tom Spallone has been filling in for Jack of late.
And I got to say, I felt bad for Tom last week. He looked like he was dying. He had his garage half open, hot. But I
as
miss
hell.
Jack. Jack hasn't been on for over a month, and I want to hear Jack again.
Well, yeah, he'll make a return, but I've been a fan of that show since
Yes, you
show
have.
number 1.
You
it's a
got
great
us into
show.
it, Perry. Yeah.
Scott's a
Since
great
show
guy.
number
Scott
1.
McLean. Yeah, Scott McLean's a
And
great
I
guy.
will contact Scott one day. I'm not so elusive, guys, but you guys represent
you are.
the show. You guys represent the show quite well too.
Perry,
but
Perry,
Yeah,
we
right.
know you're up the Mekong River. You got a whole tribe
Yeah,
living around
yeah.
you. Come on, man. Come on.
I'm in the Nom. Yeah.
I want to be your Captain Willard. I'm going to come find you.
Yeah, man. You don't know, man. Come on, man.
Are you an assassin? You're an errand boy sent by grocery clerks to collect a
Kurtz.
bill.
I don't see any method at all, sir.
But I will contact Scott. He's a great guy, and in fact I heard you guys were on the show twice, I believe, right? I heard the first one. I heard part of the second one, and I will listen to the rest of the second one. But he's.
You know what I like is that when we're on, Scott is a true music fan like us.
Yeah.
And we all seem to know different stuff. So Scott knows stuff that we don't know. We know stuff that he doesn't know. And it really just complements perfectly. And that's why anyone who listens to this show has to check out Milk Crates, because they're going to hear totally different stuff. Yeah. And, it's all good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's also he's a great host.
Yes.
He really
And
is.
absolutely.
He knows how to keep
And,
things going.
you know,
he's a
and
funny
he
guy. He's a
says-
funny guy too.
And I heard him saying that you guys know your shit, but you know what? Scott and Jack know their shit too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do.
Yeah,
and
they do.
we've seen Scott eat a peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich on his Facebook
On
page.
King of
The
Facebook,
King of Facebook.
KOFB.
Check it
yeah,
out.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's his studios, KOFB Studios. And by the way,
Right.
these guys, I don't know anybody. I mean, I heard these guys talking, and oh yeah, I saw ZZ Top 12 times. How many shows? I mean, these guys can document the shows they've been to. I mean, they can write a book.
Yeah.
They can
just-
write a book on these
Yeah.
things.
I think Scott mentioned, I forget, Mark, you might remember the band, but he mentioned where he lives in Boca. He goes, there was someone playing down the street from him, some well-known thing. He goes, I went and checked it out. He just went. So they're true music fans. Music of live. They're fans of live music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what got me into that show, because now I don't go to as many shows. I wish I did, but they talked about when they were younger, they went to every show. That was me. I was at the Meadowlands Arena in New Jersey, in Rutherford, New Jersey, every week when I was in high school and into my 20s. Like, we would see, that's why I saw the Kinks like 5 times. I saw Jethro Tull like 4 times.
For $25.
Yeah, but the point is, it's like, there was a time in my life, I got to see the show. I got to, even if, like, they weren't my favorite band, it was live music, I got to reclaim that because, well, then again, getting to a show now, and Scott alluded to this, it's not just going to a show. You got to spend $100 on a freaking ticket. You got to spend $50. Like when I saw Dead and Company, I had to pay $50 a park. Buying a beer is $25 at least. I got 8 pieces of chicken nuggets. It was $16. So, you know, seeing a concert nowadays, that's why I've limited my concert going to like small theaters like Tarrytown Music Hall or the Bergen Performing Arts Center in Englewood, smaller theaters, because you're not going to waste your money. Count Basie Theater, fucking
and
fabulous.
you have to account what
in
did
my
it cost
hometown
you?
of Red Bank, New Jersey.
Yeah.
That's not my hometown. I was born in.
What did it cost you to drive to Shea Stadium the other day?
Oh my God! So I go through the Triborough Bridge. Let's just talk about that toll. The gas, you know, and all right, it's the gas. I mean, you drive to a show, it tolls. That's fine, but it's like it's the old adage when like I had someone that I worked with who used to give me free Yankee tickets. Oh, great! I got a free Yankee ticket. So I go down to Yankee Stadium. Parking was $30. Buying a hot dog was $10, you know, and it's like, it's not really free. Nothing's free, you know. But back in the day, we used to go see shows. You drop $20. I almost spilled my wine. That was horrible.
Yeah.
You know, $20, you drop it, you buy a beer for $5 tops, you know, and it was great, you know. So it's harder to see concerts now.
Can I tell you a funny Yankee Stadium story?
Yes.
Okay. So in New Jersey, I was assistant.
Baseball game or
baseball
show?
game. No, it's a baseball game. When I worked in New Jersey, I was an assistant store manager for one of the Bottle King chains in Hillsdale, New Jersey, Mark's hometown.
I went to that store, Lou. Bottle King.
I never met you. I probabably saw you a million times. I'm like, keep an eye on this guy.
I was some drunk guy.
He looks like a friggin' thief. Keep an eye on this guy.
I famously came in that store with my niece one day, and we were both a little angry and a little buzzed. Yeah, you might have seen us. Yeah.
I probably refused to serve you. Yeah. Anyway, so we used to get, the manager and I and my friend Ed, we used to get comped a lot of tickets to sport games, basketball, football, the whole thing. So one day we got tickets at Yankee Stadium. And when I got the tickets, the beer vendor, they were known for not being the most reputable of companies, you know. So the tickets had stubs, but the entrance stubs, they were stapled together. I said, this looks kind of dicey. Like, why? What happened to these tickets? It was for the proper day and all that. So we drove in the Yankee Stadium. We get there. And I'm like, Ed, I don't know. Anyway, so we get there, and the person behind the glass goes, these tickets are no good. You know, I'm like, so the first time and only time I left, I made a stink. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, you know. Anyway, so they're like,
I'm from
okay.
New Jersey.
I'm from, you don't fuck with me. And so then they go, well, just wait over to the side there. So I said, oh, shit, okay. You know? Then so after a while, this kind of matronly businesswoman comes down, and she goes, gentlemen, are you with the Bottle King chain? And we said, yes. She goes, I'm Mr. Steinbrenner's personal assistant. Will you come with us? I'm like, where's George Costanza? I thought it was George.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I said, we're going to get thrown out of Yankee Stadium, you know. So she leads us up this hallway. We got the luxury box next to Steinbrenner's.
Oh, wow.
Really?
So, Ed drove, and there was liquor and beer and food. There wasn't hot dogs. There was chicken parmesan. Anyway, I don't remember the game. I don't know. I think they played the Colorado Rockies. I can't tell you. But at one point, I had a few, so I'm like, I'm going to lean out and see if I can peer into Steinbrenner's box room. If you've ever been with things, you shouldn't do that kind of thing, especially when you're drunk, all right? So I'm leaning over, I go around the corner, I'm looking. I thought I saw like a lot of New York high society in there. Like, I thought I saw Dick Cavett in there.
Probably.
But
You might have. Dick Cavett might have been in there.
It looked like him. I think it was, but there was some kind of
New York. So what year was this?
I'm going to say this was 96, 97.
Yeah, Colorado Rockies are a newer team, so yeah.
Yeah, I think I might have been them, but it was pretty cool. But at one point I said, wow, when we went down, you know, on the ride home, he goes, Steinbrenner's personal assistant came down, you know, and basically, we thought we were going to get thrown out.
Wow.
I can't believe we got this. They had our own bathroom. I mean, it's, you know, you've been at sports events. Don't go to the bathroom. It's just a nightmare. I'll just pee in my pants, you know.
One time when
or you can use your Music Relish podcast piss bottle.
Soon to be available.
Well,
trucker hats and piss bottles.
This is the prototype, by the way. You know,
small man. One time when I was
and you got to go through this hole. All right, you
I went to Yankee Stadium on Bat Day, you know, and I got a Tommy Tresh bat. I'm like, who the fuck is Tommy Tresh, man?
Wow.
You know.
That's why he's giving a bunch of angry drunk fans baseball bats. You know.
Yeah,
It was like he was like the third string shortstop, and I got a bat with his name on it or something.
All right. My father saw Babe Ruth play. He went to a school trip to Yankee Stadium. He struck out 3 times. I'm like, oh wow, you saw Babe Ruth. He's supposed to hit a home run, but nothing. He struck out 3 times.
Yeah.
That was
Look,
it.
my
dad wasn't a sports fan.
My grandfather was at Yankee Stadium every weekend through the 40s and 50s, and yeah, he saw that too. And yeah,
Did you ever like look up on YouTube and stuff for like shows and like somebody holding their friggin' cell phone up and like here's you too, like. Come on, man. You're half a mile away. Sounds like all I hear is the people around you,
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not a YouTube video. Come on, man.
that's
delete
shit.
that shit,
My first wife's uncle took his niece or one of them to the Beatles at Shea Stadium. So he saw the Beatles play. He goes, there was no point being in that audience. It was girls screaming, the whole Beatlemania thing.
Yeah.
And just the Beatles out there and Lennon doing the thing on the keyboard because it didn't matter, And
I think I heard Ozzy Osbourne say that he saw the Beatles and he goes, "It was I couldn't hear a fucking thing. I couldn't hear a thing about the fucking girl screaming, And he's right,
Yeah. Hey guys, we're at 2 hours, man. We're gonna have to cut this off, don't you think?
This
Come
is
on,
bad.
man.
We're like Bruce Springsteen.
We're gonna have to break this down into segments.
No, we've been running an hour and a half to 2 hours.
I think that at some point,
blabbermouths.
well, I think at
listen,
some point we got to do the marathon. We got to pick a day where we come on at like 3:00 in the afternoon and do a 4-hour. Look, Dead and Company did 4.
Oh, you want to do a
and
dead? You want to do a dead set, right? Yeah, let's do a dead set.
All right.
All right, but anyway, somebody give out the email address. And,
Wait, but before we do, an album to think about. I know I was mentioning...
Lou, you have to give us an album to listen to. It's your turn.
Okay. I was thinking Kinks Face to Facebook. Can we do that for another time?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm kinked out, man.
Yeah,
Lou,
Yeah.
let me ask you this. Could you recommend, because I do know my Blue Oyster Cult, but not in a way that you do, take out the album Don't Fear the Reaper. I know that album inside and out. Take out the album Burning for You. I know the first album. Could you recommend an album that me and Perry could listen to?
No, not Blue Oyster Cult. I just did a Blue Oyster Cult.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
All right, no problem.
But if we do, I would say the second record, Tyranny and Mutation.
No. Lou, you've got a wide musical palette, man.
I know. I'm just saying, but sometime in the future, if this ever comes up again.
I'm overriding
okay.
Perry.
That's
I'm
okay.
overriding Perry.
But I kind of agree. But
I agree
listen,
with Perry.
On your own, listen to Tyranny and Mutation, the second record. But for next week, the fantastic expedition of Dillard and Clark. Have you
I've heard some
record?
of that. I will listen again. Yeah, okay.
The whole record.
It's called Say It Slowly. Now, what is it?
The fantastic expedition of Dillard and Clark. I see Mark's that. I can see Mark's
I think Mark just passed out. Oh, there he is.
All right.
Fantastic expedition of Dillard and Clark.
Fantastic.
For everyone out there in podcast land, it is one of the first country rock records by Gene Clark, who was one of the original Byrds. Actually, he wrote a lot of their first original songs, not the Dylan covers, but a lot of their original first songs.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite songwriters, as we mentioned, Perry, you mentioned last week, on my pop quiz, that gave you one of the answers to my album quiz.
Yeah.
Because, Gene Clark's one of my favorite songwriters. A very prolific writer, a very amazing singer. It's a great record.
Great
to me,
voice, absolutely.
A great voice. This is one of my top 5 favorite records.
Okay.
The Desert Island disc without a CD player.
Well, you know what, guys? Music Relish Podcast at gmail.com.
Music Relish Podcast on Facebook.
And click the YouTube thing. What is it, Lou? What do you do? Click like, thumbs down, thumbs up, whatever.
No, click thumbs up and leave a comment.
Click thumbs up if you like it, and click thumbs down if you don't.
Failure is not an option.
Come on, there's real people out there, man.
No. If you don't like it, say what's on your mind. Do what you feel.
You can be Caesar. You could
there's
be
no bad press.
Like
you can do
Mungo
thumbs
Jerry,
up or thumbs down.
That's right. Because even if it's thumbs down, we're still going to keep doing it.
Yep.
Yeah, we're not stopping for anybody. You can't stop us.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
There'll also be a line of Music Rose podcast Pez heads.
Oh, wait, we're going to get... There's 3 Pez dispensers? Now, that would be cool. I'd like to see a Scott McLean Pez dispenser.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, Music Rose podcast pillowcases. So you can actually sleep with Mark, Lou, or Perry.
Go fuck yourself.
And go fuck yourself with a suitcase.
Oh, and of course, I have to do this during the closing. I have to thank my technical producer, Corey Delinsky.
Yeah, Corey.
He's a good kid, that Corey.
He's a good kid. He's a good egg.
Yeah.
Yep.
I haven't seen him in quite a few years.
And I'm sorry everybody saw my undershirt when I got up every time tonight.
That was hot stuff, man.
You had I saw your plumber's crack.
No.
No.
Oh, God.
We're
We're redoing it. We're redoing the show.
No editing, pal. Sorry, no editing.
And this
I don't
song
know how
is,
to edit.
This song is that's right. This song is Asheville Skyline by the 3 of us.
Wish I could have re-recorded the solos.
Oh my God.
Lou, one of our passwords for some of this is all 3 of us. That's the actual password. So.
Oh really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, good to put that out on social media.
All right.
Oh, they won't know where. You know?
Well, my ATM card.
We've been hacked. We've been cloned. That's the new thing. The new thing is cloning your Facebook page.
Damn, we're running longer than a fucking movie. It's 2 hours, man.
Not a Scorsese movie.
No.
I'm going to have to get a recliner like Lou over there, man.
I need a colostomy bag.
Oh, come on, man.
Now, that's just rude.
I showed my true colors. Somebody get rid of those guitar solos. They got to be re-recorded.
Why?
I'm my own worst critic.
We all
Great
are.
song.
We all
Great
are.
song. Great song.
It's a good song. And I know I was thinking when we recorded this, I was thinking Rush. I don't know why. It's not a Rush sounding song, but I thought Rush.
Me too. Me too.
Okay.
Well,
Down.
good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you,
Good night.
everybody.